Hibernian in the Europa Conference League playoff round.
Live on Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
There's no substitute.
Antonio to get Hibs off to the perfect start, and Easter Road has liftoff. The thunderous touch, turns, collects, across goal, and Dylan Venter announces himself at Easter Road. Obita's got support in the middle from Deutsch. He doesn't need it. He stayed calm, he stayed composed, and he slots it past the goalkeeper to score an absolutely huge goal for Hibernian in the Europa Conference League.
This is where we want to be. That's where we want to be competing. Who we want to be competing against. I think we've got a really good opportunity to enhance the reputation of the club, and that's where we are. You know, we're a growing side. Europe is a big factor for our ownership, for our history of the club, and we put ourselves in a good position to go and compete, as Adam Owen said, against probably the favourites in the competition.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Sound with me, Jonathan Sutherland. What a wonderfully interesting few hours we have in store. Hibernian versus Aston Villa, the Europa Conference League playoff first leg. Kicks off at Easter Road at 5:45. So much to chew over before then. Undoubtedly, Hibernian have been made rank outsiders by the bookmakers. As for Aston Villa, well, fantastic 4-0 victory over Everton at the weekend. But let's not forget, they took a 5-1 hiding from Newcastle United the weekend before that. Sir Alex Ferguson, though, summing them up as an excellent side that concede bad goals. Well, let's hope that's the case tonight from a Hibs point of view. First up, let's kick off with the team news and check in with our match commentator, Alistair Lamont. Good afternoon, Al.
Afternoon, Jonathan. Yes, welcome to Easter Road. Some fans already trickling into the stadium as we speak, about, just over half an hour from kick-off, and both sides now out on the turf doing their warm-ups. Here are the teams then. Hibs, one change from the second leg against Lucerne. It's Jordan Obita coming in for Dylan Levitt. And a bit of discussion here in the commentary box as to how that might affect Hibs' formation. I'm going to go with what is effectively, I suppose, a 5-4-1. But the guys alongside me, Stephen McGinn and John Collins, might beg to differ. You can get their views on it just shortly. But for me, it'll be David Marshall in goal. The central defensive trio of Will Fish, Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson, with Lewis Miller and Jordan Obita as wing backs. Then in the centre of midfield, Josh Campbell and Joe Newell, Martin Boyle and Eli Yuan on the either side of midfield, with Dylan Venter through the middle for Hibs. On the bench for them, it's Boric, the sub-keeper, Doyle Hayes, a former Aston Villa youth product, Diego Lafondra Doige, Harbottle, Del Ferrier, Bushiri, Molotnikov, McAllister, Megwa and McIntyre. A smattering of youngsters there from Hibs Academy making up the bench of Lee Johnson's side. You mentioned Aston Villa's impressive 4-0 victory over Everton at the weekend, rightly so. Just one change for them. They have gone pretty close to full strength. Unai Emery not taking any chances on his visit to Easter Road. The first time, as far as I could work out, that Aston Villa have faced Scottish opposition in European competition. The change for them is Diego Carlos coming in for Matty Cash. It means for them it's Emi Martinez, the World Cup winner, in goal. A back four of Ezri Konsa, Diego Carlos, Pau Torres and Luca Digne. In the midfield, I'm reliably informed by one of my Aston Villa moles that it's a 4-4-2, so the midfield will be Leon Bailey, Boubacar Kamara, Douglas Luiz and one John McGinn on the left-hand side, with Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby, the front pairing. On the bench for them, a couple of substitute keepers in Olsen and Marshall. And then you've got Cash, Tielemans, Traore, Chambers, Duran, Revan and Feeney. The referee here this afternoon at Easter Road is a Spaniard by the name of Ricardo de Burgos Bencochi. I wonder if he is from Unai Emery's Basque country. Looks like it to me.
And as usual, incredible pronunciation from yourself, Alistair, when it comes to the Spanish names. And also, I'm intrigued to hear that you have Aston Villa moles, plural. I was expecting just to be one Aston Villa mole, who we'll probably talk about in great depth over the next little while, because it really is all about the John McGinn derby from one perspective. Obviously, Hibs looking forward to trying to challenge their way into the Conference League group stage, but the odds very much stacked against them as far as the bookmakers will have you know. This evening, alongside Alistair Lamont at Easter Road, two former players, one former manager in fact as well, who know all about Hibs, who know all about John McGinn, who know all about Aston Villa as well. Stephen McGinn, who's with Hibs in season 2020-2021, and of course the brother of the Aston Villa captain and former Hibs player John McGinn, and alongside him John Collins, who played for Hibs from 1985 to 1990, managed Hibs as well in the mid-2000s. A very good afternoon to the both of you. And Stephen, firstly, if I can come to you, obviously a huge occasion, and obviously the family connection as well. How much are you looking forward to this?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. You know, it all seemed to happen really quickly when the original draw was made, and there was a chance the Luzerne-Hibs tie could be one of the four teams that Villa could have played in this Europe. And then it just seemed to all roll into place, because this in itself, this return to Europe, is big for Aston Villa. It's a milestone. This is a club that have suffered within the last 5 or 6 years with the relegation, spending far too long in the Championship for a club of their size. And this last season, getting to Europe was such a huge thing for the club. But for John, at the start of last season, it wasn't easy. His captaincy, they were questioning whether he was the right man for the captaincy. He fell out the team. I don't think he was in Unai Emery's first 1 or 2 games. So the improvement in him and his captaincy, and to take Aston Villa back to Europe and to be the captain, to lead them out in itself would be a big occasion for him. But to do it at a place that means so much to him personally is amazing for us and the family.
Absolutely, and we'll talk more about that hopefully before kick-off as well, Stephen. Just an incredible sort of atmosphere surrounding this match. John Collins, if I can come to you, good afternoon to you, John.
Afternoon, Jonathan.
This match tonight, everybody really making Hibs huge outsiders, unless you're a Hibs fan, of course. And they have been a bit Jekyll and Hyde at the start of this season, but we know all about the pace that they have in the forward areas. How hopeful are you from a Hibs point of view? What do you see them getting out of this match tonight?
Well, first and foremost, Aston Villa are big favourites, as you would expect. They've got a huge budget. However, Hibs are at home, full house here. I'm hoping Hibs start the game and try and press Aston Villa. Don't sit off them. I always say you respect the opponents, but you don't fear them. They're good players, and I don't think they're great players. If you give good players time and space, they turn into very good players. But if you hassle as a team, as a unit, good players sometimes they drop down to average. So what I'm hoping to see early in the game is to get the Hibs fans behind them, see Hibs press and be brave, and go and try and knock them off their stride. Don't let them settle. Obviously, as the game goes on, they will take control of the game and pin Hibs back, and Hibs have got to deal with that. And when Hibs do get pinned back, they've got pace, so they can counter-attack. Elia Yuan, Martin Boyle, they can run away from this Aston Villa back four. So I think there's hope, but what you need is an outstanding Hibs performance, no silly mistakes. When the chances come along, you've got to bury them, because there's no doubt Aston Villa will create more chances, and we've got to hope that they have an off night in front of goal as well.
Absolutely, John. I mean, we all saw what Aston Villa did to one of your former clubs at the weekend. Very much John McGinn inspired as well in that 4-0 thumping of Everton, with Unai Emery in charge as well. His record in European football is actually quite phenomenal. 3 consecutive titles in the Europa League with Sevilla. He won the trophy again with Sevilla to make it 4, before guiding them to the Champions League semi-finals the year after that. His European credentials are incredible, and you wonder and you worry a little bit from a Hibs point of view if suddenly, all of a sudden, Aston Villa have clicked. And in John McGinn, for whom there'll be so much focus this evening. He is the captain. He looks like he's enjoying his football again. He's instrumental, already forming a link with Diaby as well. I know the match of the day too, they were waxing lyrical the other night as well. Just how good could this Aston Villa side be this season?
Well, there's no doubt the manager is top quality manager. He's won those trophies. regularly. His teams always play good football. They always build out from the back. So from a Hibs point of view, you know exactly what's in front of you. The way, the style they play, they try and play out from the back. They've got good players. But, they're not Manchester City. But if you, as I said, if you admire them and think they're that good and build them up, you're in for a hiding. In that Hibs dressing room, there's got to be a belief that, you know what, they're not that special. They're football players. We're football players. Get in about them, stay compact, be aggressive, control the aggression. Let's see if we can upset them early in the game. And set pieces will be vital. If Hibs gets set pieces, they've got to get good delivery into the box.
Stephen, just in terms of Hibs, the record this season, 3 wins, 3 defeats and a draw. But do you feel that this is a side growing in stature?
Yes, and it's a side that's got goals in it. I think that's an important thing. I think for long spells in the second half over in Switzerland, they were under the cosh, and when they could concede that second goal, you start to worry about, is the roof going to cave in, like Scottish sides have done in the past away from home. But this Hibs team can score. They've got pace, as John says, they've got pace and the break wheel pace that will worry the Aston Villa team. I know Unai Emery, he's asked lots of questions about Boyle and Ellie Ewan, and both of them at their very best can trouble any defence. So they'll be wary of that. They'll be wary of the atmosphere. I think they'll speak about the crowd being engaged early and trying to put them under real pressure. I think the first couple of tackles from Hibs players, if they can get them spot on, can really engage the crowd. And it doesn't matter how good a player you are, you can be spooked by a crowd. A crowd can really get to you. So Hibs need to engage the crowd as early as they can.
Let's just remember Hibs' record to get to this point so far this season. We'll hear from the manager Lee Johnson in a little while, and a few other characters who will certainly liven things up this evening as well, this afternoon I should say. Hibs' record in Europe, it started so badly with that defeat away at Interclub d'Escaldes, a 2-1 defeat away in Andorra. And of course, they came roaring back at Easter Road, a 6-1 victory to make it to the next round, where they faced the Swiss side Lucerne. And I have to say, we were all impressed, weren't we, by Hibs' 3-1 victory against the Swiss at Easter Road. And then the tricky away tie, and Hibs went up another gear by the looks of things. Ellie Ewan particularly impressive in that 2-2 draw against Lucerne away, which has brought Hibs to this point. I suppose to both of you as well, you know, as an attacking entity, we've already been impressed by Hibs this season. You both mentioned the pace that they've got in the forward areas. Boyle and Ewan in particular. Dylan Vente looks like he can score goals. What about Hibs as a defensive entity? How frail is that? Do they need to strengthen defensively? How worried are you about that this evening, John Collins?
Well, I think that's been an issue. They have been conceding goals. In the back line, they've got Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson, who've been great servants, and everybody keeps thinking they're going to be replaced, and they've tried to replace them. They've brought players in who haven't managed to replace them because their performances haven't been good enough. So they're not the quickest, but they're two players that you know they're going to give everything every minute of the game, but you just worry a little bit about their pace at this level. However, they've got to cover each other. That's when your midfielders and your wingers come into play. The wingers have got to get back and help the fullbacks. The midfielders have got to be sliding across to help the fullbacks. You can't leave them 1v1 or Paul Hanlon 1v1, because the reality is the opposition are sharper and quicker and they'll run away from them. So all these little things, components, we talk about Johan and we talk about Boyle, as it's causing problems at the top of the pitch. They've got a big job to do defensively, helping their midfield, helping their fullbacks and staying compact. So that's the challenge for the manager, to get these messages across to the players to say, look, when we've not got the ball, these are defenders. As soon as we've got it, you're wingers. And these are the details of Johan. He has a tendency to switching off out of possession, and that he's got to get better at that. And at this level, if you don't switch on when out of possession, you'll get punished, because these are better players than Scottish Premier League players.
Quite incredibly, this is Lee Johnson's 500th game in charge of a team as manager. He's only 42 years of age. What a match for him this afternoon. He's been chatting to Brian McLaughlin.
Well, Lee, first of all, many congratulations. 500 games as a manager, and it's here at Easter Road tonight. What a special night for you.
Yes, time to perfection. It's hard enough one game at these levels, so to get 500 is something, obviously it's a lovely milestone for me, but it's not about me tonight, it's about the club, and it's about the team. The boys have worked extremely hard to get this opportunity, and we want to give a really good account of ourselves. It's a big competition, we're here on merit. Like I say, end of last season we had to fight and battle to get in that position. 2 big European wins, which is really important to get here, and this is the next opportunity for them, I think, to enhance the reputation of the club and that of themselves as well.
Give us an indication as to what it will take to have a positive result here tonight against what is undoubtedly a very, very good Aston Villa side.
Yeah. Maximum concentration, that's the first thing, but also belief. You've got to have a belief in the way that you play and the way that the individuals have got to bring their game and their best game to this match, and they can. When you're on the ball, like any team has to deal with your threats, and we've definitely got threats. So it's important that we don't just sit back and that we press. We're at home, the crowd will be up, it'll be a fantastic occasion, but at the same time stay vigilant enough to deal with their pace, their speed and their quality.
What do you expect then from Villa? Do you expect them to come and try and win the game tonight, or is it all about Hibs doing exactly the same, obviously, trying to go and win it here at Easter Road?
I think top individuals make good decisions, and I think that they've got a set of players that will make good decisions. The atmosphere may play a part, but also top players are very used to that. We've got to really just concentrate on ourselves, what we do, and we're looking forward to it. This is where we want to be. This is a great occasion for us as a football club, and I think we've earned it. So, once earned, you must make a really good impression.
Already John McGinn's been out there, but there's a lot of Hibs kids there clambering for an autograph. The return of John McGinn will only heighten the atmosphere here tonight, won't it?
Yeah, and that's a nice story, isn't it? There's a lot of narratives for this game, and that's a lovely one as well. I know how respected he was here, and he'll always be welcome back.
In terms of a win tonight, it's your 500th game, a win tonight, would this be the biggest result in your managerial career?
I think it would be up there, yeah, absolutely. I've been lucky enough to have some really big games, down in England Cup competitions, up here as well, and this is right up there with amongst those.
We wish you well, Lee.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We do indeed. Yes, Lee Johnson, appointed manager of Oldham Athletic on the 18th of March 2013 at the age of 31. He was the youngest manager in the English Football League. John Collins, what do you make of Lee Johnson? Because it's a constant roller coaster as far as I can work out in terms of Hibs, and whenever he seems to need to get a big result, it happens. What's your take?
Well, he's had, I think the word is, his results have been inconsistent since he came to the football club. He's got a few new players in this season. He's obviously disappointing in the league, but here we are in Europe, massive game against Aston Villa. These are the games that make or break you as a manager. If he wins this, imagine he wins this tonight, his stock will go right up. If he takes a heavy defeat, his stock will go right down. So it's a pickle game being the manager. Fans can turn very quickly. But he used a word here early in the interview, and he used the word press. He talked about it. So I really hope that Hibs can try and implement a press early in the game. You've got to be brave to do that against this quality opposition. But if he does, then football, anything's possible. People think, Aston Villa, Hibs, no chance. Look how much money they've spent. Football, when the game kicks off, it's 11v11. Things can happen in games. They can get a player sent off if you put them under pressure early in the game. Get Johan running at the fullback, gets past him, tripped in the box, penalties. These things happen if you're brave. If you sit back off often and hope and pray in a counter-attack, I think it's a wrong strategy. But I will say there will be periods in the game when they will dominate Hibs and have 20-30 passes, because that's the style of football Unai Emery plays. And Hibs will have to be patient and stay compact. The fans will have to stay calm during those moments when it's domination for the opposition. But you've got to believe, and those Hibs players have got to go on that pitch thinking, you know what, we can cause an upset. What an opportunity. And the key for me is controlled aggression. You've got to be at it early in the game. Make sure midfield players, opposition midfielders, aren't picking it up in 10 yards of space, easy possession in that middle area. Ball comes in the middle of the pitch, you're bumping them, you're pressing them, you're taking the ball off them. That's the target. It certainly was for me as a player and as a coach. Can you do that, upset the opposition early? And what that does is Scottish fans love a tackle, they love a challenge, and that's what you need. You need the fans with you. It's such an important thing. People talk about the fans. It's a full stadium, but if Hibs sit back from kick-off and Aston Villa dominate possession, you won't hear a peep from the fans. If Hibs go at them and get throw-ins, free kicks, corners and shots round at the box, the fans will get right behind them.
It could be great at Easter Road tonight. Let's hope the fans are off their seat. Just briefly, Stephen McGinn on the Lee Johnson narrative. Do you feel he's generally on the right track?
Yeah, he was very streaky in England. He'd go long spells without winning a game in England and then go on a mad winning run. He was pretty known for that. Up here it's a bit different. It's been more a bit up and down with Hibs. What I think, Lee Johnson's never managed in Europe before, so I think he'll be more assured and confident coming into this game, having faced top Premiership teams in his time at Sunderland, time at Bristol City. He's faced these teams before. He'll know what to expect. Coming into the Luzerne game, there was the unknown. Not sure the quality of the Swiss team, how they were going to approach it. I think he'll have an idea in his head off past experience of how he wants to go about these games against the top Premiership teams, and how at times you need to suffer, but at times you need to land a blow, make them worry about you. So he's had success at times against Premiership teams, so I think he'll be a lot more comfortable coming into this game.
We're getting a few shots from Easter Road coming into the studio here, and a beaming John McGinn as he returns to Easter Road. Another man returning to Scottish football is Austin McPhee, who will remember from his time at Heart of Midlothian, of course. He's now the set-piece coach with Aston Villa. He's also been speaking to Brian McLaughlin.
Well, Austin, welcome back to Scotland. You're coming, of course, with Aston Villa tonight. Tell us about Villa and just how good a team they are.
I think the second half of last season we hit a really good period of form with the new manager, and the players have a lot of confidence now. We had a strong finish to the season, and we were delighted to manage to get into this competition, which I think in the last 2 years with Roma and West Ham winning it has become maybe more prestigious than people first thought, and we're now looking to try and make progress.
When the draw came out and it turned out that it was Hibernian, what was the mood like, and especially when John McGinn, the homecoming of John McGinn as it's been called?
Yeah, I think that Hibs this season, when we knew it was going to be them or Luzerne, we started watching obviously their games, and they've done very well in Europe. Showed a lot of character. They played very well here against Luzerne in the second half, and showed a lot of character in the second half in Switzerland. And I think it'll be a very tough game, and we've prepared for this game like we have for the Premier League.
Is it a strong team then that you're going with tonight, as strong as possible?
Yeah, we've got in the last week or so quite a lot of bad injuries. Coutinho, Tyrone Mings and also Emi Buendia, so I think the squad's a little bit thinner than we would probably like in this moment, but I think it'll be a strong team tonight.
And on a personal level, being back in Scotland again and back to a ground which you know well, and you've been booed before and you'll be booed tonight here again, won't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the rivalry between Hearts and Hibs is fantastic, and I think when you go down the road to England, one thing here that's maybe lost a little bit down south is just the passion that people have for football. See that with the national team as well, and the Hearts Hibs games have an atmosphere that match anything, and I'm sure it'll be lively in here tonight.
I'd love to wish you well, but hopefully not tonight.
Oh well, for Cyprus, when Cyprus and England come up, I'm sure they'll be on the same page.
Thanks, Austin.
All right, cheers, Brian.
So many subplots in this match this evening. It really is whetting the appetite, but there is no getting away from the John McGinn Derby narrative. 56 caps, 16 goals, 28 years of age, now captain of Aston Villa. Watching some great pictures coming in here of archive footage of John McGinn in the dressing room with the Scottish Cup. Of course, part of that Hibs side which ended that 114-year quest to win the Scottish Cup back in 2016. He is part of Easter Road folklore, and another chapter will be written this evening. Stephen, you must have been chatting to John a little bit coming into this big match tonight, and it must be a strange one for him as well, because he must be thinking about things like, what happens if I score a goal at Easter Road? How am I going to celebrate? All these sorts of things coming into the equation. And are you able to divulge much of what he's been saying to you about it?
I think John get his goal for the season on Sunday, so I don't think we need to worry about that. But round about the time John was leaving Hibs, I mean, it was quite the saga. Every game, it felt like it might be his last game. But I just remember my main memory from that time was the European game. I think it was maybe in Greece. I thought it was one of his best ever Hibs performances. And I think during the saga, will he go now? Am I going to play next week? His performances seemed to be getting better and better. And he just had such an affiliation with the fans here. He really bought into being a Hibs player, and as I say, part of that very famous Scottish Cup winning team. He's got so much good memories, got so many good friends here. He loves the city. So as soon as that draw was made and it was getting closer and closer, I think, as Austin just mentioned, I think a small section of Birmingham really celebrated that Martin Boyle equaliser over in Switzerland, because he really did want this game. And as you say, football, it moves so quickly. He didn't get the chance to thank the Hibs fans for what they did for his career and the move he got to Aston Villa. So it is a special night for him, but he can't let that affect him, because he's here to be judged. We're all here to watch him, expect another performance from him. So he needs to get that out of his head after the first 5-10 minutes and perform.
I'm intrigued about the ethos of the McGinn family, if you don't mind me prying a little bit, Stephen, because, I mean, everything you hear about John McGinn is good in the sense of this wholeheartedness about his approach to life in general. You mentioned that match against the Greek team. I think that was at the height of the speculation about, was he going to go to Celtic, was he going to go to Aston Villa. I remember reading quotes from Neil Lennon saying that despite all that, he gave absolutely everything for the Hibs shirt, even though a transfer was in the offing, and you all know in terms of injuries and all the rest of it, sometimes the tendency might be to play things a little bit safe. And then even this past weekend, I think Coutinho was injured on the pitch at Villa Park, and there was John McGinn. He'd scored the opening goal in the 4-0 victory, and then next thing, near the final whistle, he was rushing off to help the St John's ambulance people with getting the medical kit on for Coutinho. And you always hear about the Scotland staff as well. He'd help with all the hampers, even though he was a fully fledged international. And I just wonder about the way you and Stephen, yourself and Paul and John were kind of brought up in terms of how your attitude to not only football but to life.
I don't think it was quite family. St Mirren's Academy had a real good ground, and it was quite a big thing at St Mirren's Academy, and the way they were bringing young players through, with the guy David Longwell in charge of it at the time. And a big part of that was never noticing staff lifting the kit and always offering to help. So John spent a long time at St Mirren, so I've got to give a lot of credit to them as well as my parents for that upbringing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, John Collins, he's a player that I think fans really identify with, because what you see is what you get. He wears his heart on his sleeve and he gives absolutely everything, and he's doing it right at the very top level.
Well, he's one of those players, whatever club he goes to, the fans will take him. Why do they take him? Because every single game he plays as if it's his last. From the first minute to the last minute, he's engaged, he's chasing, he's hounding, and obviously his preparation during the week must be the same, because you can't just flick a button and turn on a Saturday. So attitude, application, good habits obviously comes from his family. His brother here has been very polite to St Mirren, but in my opinion that comes from home life. Mothers and fathers instilling great habits in young boys from a young age makes them into great adults.
Absolutely. And Stephen, I mean, he already seems to be a favourite with Emery, the manager. Obviously he's the captain, and I know he had a bit of a lull during his time at Villa not too long ago, but he's right back at it, obviously, and he must be loving life right now at Villa Park. And he seems to have already got this link up with Diaby, who's obviously this big summer signing as well, bags of pace, huge quality, and that is potentially a hugely dangerous factor for Hibs this evening.
Yeah, Unai Emery's got a clear idea of how he wants to play football. And we speak about the pace of the Hibs team. I mean, the two strikers up front for Aston Villa must be about the quickest partnership in English Premiership, in Watkins and Diaby. And with that, you've got the pace of Bailey out in the wing. So I know Austin McPhee said they're missing a few players, but I think it's testament to the way Unai Emery manages and how much he respects the game and how successful he wants to be in the competition by the strength of the team. You look at Yuri Tielemans, a big signing. I thought he might be given a nod to get a game tonight, but he's picked as close to a strong team as he can. maybe without Matty Cash. So it's a big night for Aston Villa. As I said, only a few years ago playing a trade in the Championship, one of the great clubs in England. So it's a huge night for them and for their fans. So they want to put on a show as well.
Absolutely. And I think Austin McPhee made a good point in the sense that with Roma and West Ham having won this competition, any doubts people might have had about its legitimacy have long gone, and it would be fantastic if Hibs could manage an incredible upset and get to the group stage. We shall see. We're talking about pace in the Aston Villa lineup this evening. There's plenty of pace up front for Hibernian this evening, and Eliu and Martin Boyle, the Australian international, has been chatting to Brian.
Martin, a lot of hard work to get to this stage. What is tonight going to be like though for the players, the fans and everybody here at Easter Road?
Yeah, it'll be a tremendous atmosphere. Everyone's looking forward to it. We're all psyched. It's not an easy opponent, but these are the games you want to play in, and a chance to make obviously in the history books and to qualify for the Europa Conference.
Tell us about Aston Villa then and the work you've done in them and how you counter a side who beat Everton 4-0 at the weekend.
Not giving our tactics away, but yeah, we know it's a tough task. We've done a bit of work. Obviously, it was a quick turnaround from Sunday's game. But we've done our work, we've done the video analysis, so yeah, we're more than prepared.
Have you found ways that you can breach them?
I'm sure we will, yeah. Obviously, we know we're going to have to give up a lot of the ball. They're a good team. Hopefully we can catch them on the counter and cause some problems.
You can never win a tie over 90 minutes, but you can certainly lose it, I think, at times. But what would be the ideal result, of course, would be a win. But is it just to stay in the tie next week and prove that when you go to Villa Park, there is still hope to get through?
Yeah, that's it. Obviously we've got the home advantage, so hopefully we can try to take the game to them as much as we can and be as positive as we can. Obviously it'll take a lot of good shape, compact behind the ball, but like you say, we've got players in the team that can hopefully cause them problems.
Now, certainly John McGinn in the opposition tonight. What do you expect from John and the atmosphere and the welcome he'll get coming back here to Easter Road?
I hope he gets booed, yeah. But obviously he's a tremendous servant for the club, so he obviously deserves it. But equally, he's our opponent tonight, and yeah, we won't be shown that.
Best of luck, Martin, and hopefully it's a special night.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Let's hope so indeed. Martin Boyle there with Brian McLaughlin, just having a look at the BBC Sport website live page here. And we all know that the chasm between English football and Scottish football, especially when it comes to finances, is massive, and if reported fees are to go by, Aston Villa have spent an eye-watering £80 million this summer. Big money signings, Moussa Diaby and Pau Torres at the back, the Spanish defender as well, featuring for Unai Emery's side. In comparison, Hibs summer spending amounts to about £1.5 million, which is actually quite a lot by Scottish Premiership standards outside the old firm. Dylan Vente, of course, costing a significant six-figure fee from Dutch football. But yes, the chasm is big. You know what? Let's hear from another Hibs player, this time Lewis Stevenson. He was speaking after Hibs got past Wraith Rovers at the weekend in the League Cup. He chatted to Martin Dowden.
Absolutely massive occasion for this club. You've been here, of course, for so long. Where does the sense of occasion rank in terms of your career here?
It's definitely up there. It's the furthest I think we've been in Europe since I've came in, to win 2 knockout legs. It's not just great for Hibs, but great for Scottish football as well. And to be fair, all the Scottish teams seem to be doing well, which is a far cry for maybe 5-10 years ago, where everyone seemed to be getting knocked out in the first round. So no, things are going well. In Europe, probably our domestic form needs to get a bit better performances, but it does take its toll. Yeah, it's tough. Not the biggest squad in the world, but look, we're enjoying it. You've got to be in Europe as long as possible, and it's going to be a tough test, I'm sure, on Wednesday.
You're smiling. I mean, it is a tough test. We all know what you're up against, the resources, the quality of players. Where do you think the squad will get the confidence to go into that thinking, right, we can take them on?
Look, I think Luzerne were a really good team. I don't think they were far off Rangers and Celtic, especially over there. They were some lovely footballers. They keep the ball really well. They've got a system that's very hard to play against, and we dug in, and I'm sure we'll need to do that again. But we've had decent success in recent years against Rangers and Celtic, and that's the kind of level we need to look for them. They might even, Aston Villa might be a step up, but we've got games planned. The gaffer can set us up well, and I'm sure we're going to frustrate them, but we still want to have that threat on the counter attack.
John McGinn as well, you'll know well from his time here. I mean, how do you feel about the prospect of facing up to him again on such an occasion?
Like, it's someone I never thought I'd play against him again. Sort of strange how things work out like that, but like he was a hero here. It's going to be great to see him back. I'm sure he'll get a great ovation for the fans. But it's not the John McGinn show. It's Hibs against Aston Villa, and there's 22 players that'll be starting, even more that are going to come on. So a massive occasion for us, a massive occasion for the fans and the club, and to play an English team in a competitive game is something that I never thought I'd see. So it's we're going to enjoy it, but we're going to give it a all.
Lewis Stevenson there speaking to Martin Dowden back on Sunday when Hibs got past Wraith Rovers, and I think he makes a very good point, John Collins, in the sense that it wasn't that long ago, in fact very recently, when Scottish teams would tremble in fear a little bit about these early stages of European qualifying, and here we are. We've got Celtic guaranteed group stage football in the Champions League, Rangers with a sniff of it, they've got the backup of Europa League group stage football guaranteed. Aberdeen have got Europa Conference League football group stage guaranteed. They could make it into the Europa League, of course, up against Häcken. And in a way, Hearts and Hibs both bonus balls in this situation, and we hope both sides can get through. It's going to be very difficult for Hibs and Hearts, but there's a feel-good factor about Scottish football right now, isn't there?
Yeah, it's terrific news for Scottish football. That's what we all want. We want Scottish teams in Europe midweek. For too long we've hardly had anything. So great news, but this is an almighty challenge for Hibs tonight against the big English Premiership team coming up here with all their superstar names and big money. But as I've said before, when the game kicks off, it's 11v11, and those Hibs players have to be at it, every single one of them, in first minute playing, focused, working harder than opponents. Opponents might be better individual players, technically better, but the question is, can Hibs players work harder than them? Can they, every single time they lose possession, can they have instant reactions to get back into their positions? Can they stay compact for 90 minutes? If they become detached, big gaps between full-backs, wingers, midfielders and back fours, they could get torn to shreds. So that's, I'm sure the manager's told them that. All those little details, and now the game's going to be kicking off soon. They've got to make sure they implement. But it's not as easy to say, but that's the challenge. Can they do it? They've got to believe they can.
Let's hope so. Let's hope for a famous night for Hibernian Football Club at Easter Road against Aston Villa. It's all about to get underway. John Collins and Stephen McGinn are co-commentators this evening. Our match commentator is Alistair Leonard.
Thanks again, Jonathan. As you can hear in the background, this promises to be a wonderful occasion. But my goodness, it couldn't have gone much harder than this for Hibernian as they try to navigate their way into the group stage of the Europa Conference League. Lee Johnson's 500th game as a manager, and if he can come out of this with a positive result, it would surely be the most impressive of his career. Aston Villa back in European action for the first time in 13 years. This is a club very much on the up under a world-class manager in Unai Emery, and strong favourites to finish this tie before the second leg back in Birmingham in a week's time even begins. John McGinn, much talked about, shaking hands with his old pal Paul Hanlon in the centre of the pitch and the match referee, and we will soon be underway in this early evening in Leith. A lovely day it has been through here, very still, not too warm, not too cold, perfect conditions, I dare say, for a football match, and almost a full house right now. One or two supporters no doubt still to arrive, but it will be Hibernian in their traditional green and white tops, white shorts, green socks, going from left to right as we look at it from the back of the main stand. Wonderful vantage point for us to take in this huge game, and it'll be Aston Villa in claret and light blue, as we've so often seen them over the years, who will kick us off. Just savour that atmosphere in the background as the Spanish referee just checks with his fellow officials, and we are good to go. Can Hibernian make a game of this? Can they stay in the tie? That's as much as you can surely ask of them as Villa get us underway, and back they go to Diego Carlos, the Brazilian centre-back, and Pau Torres, a new addition. Under Unai Emery, he achieved success at Villarreal, and here he is at Villa. He's overrun the ball on the halfway line. He's challenged by Josh Campbell, and it breaks to Jordan Obita, who we can see early on, Stephen, is playing a midfield role. It is a back four for Hibs, 4-5-1 pretty much it looks like, with Obita playing on the left of that midfield.
Yeah, it looks like a bit of a lopsided 4-4-2 to match up. I think they've got Obita on the left hand side with Lewis Stevenson to deal with Leon Bailey, who was the star man on Sunday, and maybe Martin Boyle cheating at times to try and catch him out on the left hand side.
It's Ollie Watkins picking up for Villa, yet to score this season, but terrific marksman for them over the last couple of seasons since he's moved from Brentford, and it's back with Torres, one of the summer acquisitions. £30 million they paid Villarreal for him as he flights out to the far side looking for Leon Bailey, the fleet-footed Jamaican, but he's not fast enough to catch that. And the early thoughts of John Collins.
Well, it's a 4-4-2 for me. Johan's at the top and Venti looks like he's just dropping in the hole, maybe 4-4-1-1. So no, is that a surprise to me? I thought they might have went 4-3-3, to be honest. Got width, two quick players in the wider area, but I don't know if Johan can play back to goal. I don't think that's his strength, but they're looking for him to work early in the game.
That's good work from Campbell. Boyle though losing out to Luca Digne. John McGinn using his strength to burrow his way down the left hand side, booed by the home crowd, but Martin Boyle gets back to just tuck the ball out of play. And John himself was saying in the media pre-match that he expected to be the enemy as soon as that first whistle went. As much as the Hibs fans remember him fondly, he's very much an opposition player tonight, and he'll be giving it his all, and expects to get the barracking of the home fans though. As Villa pick up from the back, it's Diego Carlos, who was signed last summer but has barely played. He had an Achilles injury early in his first season and is just back really to full fitness. Hibs have got it back, and knocked back to the goalkeeper David Marshall, his first real feel of the ball. He goes long early on. Carlos is underneath it for Villa. Then it's Joe Newell returning it. Carlos just flicks it off the top of his head back to Emi Martinez. But Hibs, Stephen, at least they've settled into the game. They don't look by any stretch of the imagination overawed.
Yeah, ideal start. They've had the chance to get their foot in a couple of times. I think they're going to be able to play at times. I think they'll be able to put their foot on it. I think Villa are used to letting the other team take touches at the back, so and maybe instead of David Marshall kicking that early, maybe taking a few extra touches, but they'll be really pleased with the start.
Home fans getting right behind their side this European occasion, Battle of Britain if you will, really catching the imagination as Villa come forward looking for Bailey. It's Hanlon though, the edge of his own penalty area. It's high in the air, met by Campbell, who helps on towards the halfway line. Torres returns it, picked up by Diaby, looking to link with Watkins up front, but Miller's in there, knocks it back to his goalkeeper. Looks like he was being fouled in the process. The referee allows play to continue as Marshall gets it cleared up to the halfway line. Boyle beaten in the jump by Luca Digne, who by all accounts is on his way out of Villa, but they haven't got a replacement in at the moment. I think they have got one of their left backs, Alex Moreno, is injured, and beyond that they don't have much in the way of backup, so he hasn't been able to leave yet. I think it's Nice likely to be his destination, not too far from where John Collins once displayed his talents on the south coast of France.
You know, I think that's an area where Hibs can exploit. I think Dean's a decent player. I don't think he's the quickest, I don't think he's the strongest, and I think if Martin Boyle can get possession and get running him, he can cause them problems.
Back with Emi Martinez, who is a huge figure in that Argentine World Cup win last December. He's got the ball on the edge of his box. Easter Road really is rocking this afternoon as we played 4.5 minutes, still 0-0. Neither keeper really being threatened in these early stages. It's Pau Torres, Spanish international, knocks it down the left. Digne plays it back to McGinn. McGinn into the edge of the box, away by Hanlon. And picked up by Boubacar Kamara out to the right hand side for Bailey. looking to get the better of Lewis Stevenson, loses his footing but regains it and then knocks it back to the edge of the area, clipped in towards the back post, the header down from Digne, and Marshall had to be lively at his near post, and it will be the first Aston Villa corner of the game. David Marshall on his toes to keep out the effort from Digne from a tight angle.
It's what Aston Villa can do, it's what they try and do. They've smothered Hibs in their own box and they're able to find the full-back coming into the back post. A real dodgy moment there for the Hibs defence, but good save from Marshall.
Corner kick then from the left-hand side for Villa, as they look to try and make an early breakthrough and silence this home crowd. It's flicked on at the near post. What can Villa make of it? Not too much. Initially is the answer as Douglas Luiz is out-muscled and Hibs come forward on the counter. Yuan now played in on the left-hand side, the pass forward to him just wasn't quite on the money, and Villa able to regroup.
That was a great opportunity of a counter-attack. You know Johan's got the pace of their back four, the pass has got to be better.
I think Miller could have got the pass away earlier as well. I think the crowd were screaming for it.
There's Luis out to Digne. E. Johnson just at the edge of his technical area in front of Digne as Torres switches it out to Ezri Konsa, who's shuffled across to right back tonight in the absence of Matty Cash. Ollie Watkins played in behind. Will Fish trying to get back with him. Shows a good turn of pace to hold him up. Out to the right hand side it goes for Bailey at angle of the box, clips it in high in the air off the head of Miller, and Boyle will try and bring it away for Hibs. He's fouled there surely, and it will be.
Hibs need to try and get some possession, get some simple passes at the back to the goalkeeper. Confidence comes with possession sometimes. They've been nice and compact, they've defended well, but there comes a period in the game you've got to make passes.
It's an early warning for Will Fish. Ollie Watkins is going to continuously make that run. You can't turn your back on him, you can't switch off because he'll keep doing it and it'll hurt you.
Fish takes the free kick that did come about because of that foul by Douglas Luiz on Martin Boyle.
For me, that's just a long, hopeful ball up the pitch, giving possession back to Aston Villa. I'd like to see them pass it. Be brave, trust each other.
7 in here at Easter Road, 0-0 between Hibernian and Aston Villa in this Europa Conference League play-off. Aston Villa already been spoken about as one of the favourites for this competition. They're not even in the group stage yet, but such is the faith that most people understandably have that they will find a way past Hibernian. And here they come forward down the right hand side, and it's Konsa forward from right back, checks back, infield he goes. It's back with Kamara just inside the Hibernian half, clips it forward. That's a decent run by Bailey in behind Lewis Stevenson, but there's too much on the pass. It's safely out for a goal kick to Hibernian. 8 minutes gone, Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 0. David Marshall not in too great a hurry even at this early stage to take the set pieces.
I do think the crowd, the way it is just now, is electric. Aston Villa are misplacing a few passes, they're over-hitting them, under-hitting them, so if the crowd can stay engaged like that, if the Hibs players can keep them involved, it'll be a big thing in this game.
Yuan wins the header, goes back the way towards Stevenson, who also gets his head to it. Josh Campbell likewise, then Hanlon, and almost all the way through to Martin Boyle there, but eventually out of play, and John McGinn just signals to his Aston Villa teammates, let's just settle it down a bit, because it doesn't do them probably any favours if it's as frenetic as it started, Stephen.
Yeah, and Aston Villa do this from throw-ins. They bring everyone over, and they want you to just throw it up the line and give away back possession. If they can be brave, if Josh Campbell can get on the ball, Joe Newell, a simple pass back and switch the play, they can catch them out with how over the Aston Villa team are.
7th in the English Premier League last season under Unai Emery, who came in at the start of November when they were down in 16th and really struggling after Steven Gerrard's tenure ended poorly for the club. But what a turnaround it's been, and well, I've been reading about certainly John McGinn himself, but also many of his teammates talking about how meticulous Unai Emery is in terms of his preparation, the one-to-one sessions, the group sessions, going over every fine detail, and my goodness, it seems to pay dividends.
I think it's not just John, guys like Ollie Watkins, Douglas Luiz, Konsa, they've all gone to another level under Unai Emery. It's not a secret, he's one of the best in the world. They've done really well to get him.
Here's Digne, left hand side of the penalty area for Villa as they come forward, back with Luis in field, goes to Kamara, tries to find Luis again, just having to stretch and losing possession. Ultimately, Yuan felt he was fouled there, and the referee agrees and awards him the free kick just on the edge of the centre circle. And all these little stoppages will be just fine for Hibernian. You say 10 minutes in, John, 0-0, and Hibs looking pretty decent.
Aston Villa are having lots of possession, but to be honest, they're not cutting through Hibs. Hibs are looking fairly comfortable out of possession.
There's a switch of play that Stephen was talking about. Will Fish out to the left-hand side for a Bita, but he is caught offside, unfortunately, for Hibernian, and that will be a free kick to Aston Villa midway inside their own half on the right-hand side.
Jordan Abita shouldn't be offside, but you can see even Joe Neal's reaction. He's clapping Lewis Miller. That is the way they can get out against this Aston Villa team.
Yeah, and credit to Hibernian management for having clearly identified that as a tactic, as well as our own Stephen McGinn, as Emi Martinez picks up possession just outside his penalty area. I think I just swallowed a wee leaf fly there. That's not going to do me any good for the commentary. As Villa come forward up to the halfway line, it's Carlos trying one over the top. It's a rather aimless one though, easy for Lewis Miller to take down on the chest, then checks back the Australian, back to his goalkeeper David Marshall, who had that awful error out in Andorra, but having recovered from the injury that kept him out of the return leg against Inter Escaldes, he's back in favour as the number one. He's Eli Yuan's the latest Hibs player to be caught offside, and Aston Villa have taken the free kick quickly. 11.5 minutes gone.
Again, Eli Yuan's got to be better. He's got to be clever. He's got to be looking over his shoulder, looking where centre halves. He can't be caught offside. It's so frustrating for the team.
Carlos out to Kwanzaa. Mati Cash on the bench, the Polish international this evening. It's the only change from that highly impressive 4-0 victory over Everton to get Villa on the board after a heavy opening day defeat at Newcastle. 5-1 they lost. Here's Digne, forward it goes to Watkins, gets it back left hand side, cross comes off Watkins, which does Hibs a favour. He allows them to get out of their own danger area. Neat little flick on by Yuan, helped on by Venta, out to the left hand side for a Bita with the early ball in, back post ball, Boyle back into the 6-yard box, and it's an offside flag up in any event as Martinez collects. That is a good flowing move from Hibernian, and that will give them confidence.
Excellent play, switching it one right to left, and then a terrific ball from Bita to the back post, just offside, but good play from Hibs. Got to give them confidence.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to see. Hibs on the front foot and passing the ball with confidence, and good link up, good layoffs with Yuan and Venta combining well. And Villa already know they're not going to get this all their own way, and they've cocked up possession in the middle of the park. It's Douglas Luiz giving it away rather easily, and Yuan gets it to Stevenson, left hand side. I think Obita had gone offside again, so he checked out of his run. Stevenson didn't recognise that. Over the top he went, and it's out for a goal kick to Aston Villa. 0-0 after 13 minutes here.
It's something they work on, the offside trap. They work on it all the time. And I think if you watch the Aston Villa Newcastle game, when it goes wrong with late runners, that's how you exploit it. But early on, the Hibs boys are going to have to come up when the Aston Villa defence steps up.
And when they do push up, the straight pass over the top is in a slippy surface. It just goes out. It's got to be diagonal passes in behind at an angle.
Villa have it through Pau Torres, who made the point they need to respect every team they come up against in Europe, regardless of their favourite status. Here he is again. 23 caps for Spain. Onto the Frenchman Digne. That's a poor ball in from Digne though. Hand goes up in acknowledgement of that, straight into the arms of David Marshall, and almost quarter of an hour gone at Easter Road, and no goals as Fish hits the ball and then plays it, looking over the top for Venta, looking to cause Torres a problem here. The left centre back looks in control, but Venta's not giving up on it. Goes into the penalty area, and Diego Carlos content to just knock it out of play on the steer side.
Perfect example of what I was talking about before the game. You put them under pressure and they're no great players. That just shows you a little bit of pressure, and the centre half's kicking it out the pitch. More of that from Hibs at the top of the pitch I'd like to see.
Yeah, they worked well as a partnership there, Venta and Yuan. It shows you the difference it can make to a team when the front boys press like that.
Boyle's flick inside. Venta couldn't just bring it under control, and it's back to Martinez from Digne. One touch and then knocks it away before Yuan can get there. Over the halfway line it goes, and Watkins holds it up for Bailey. Bailey tries to force it back out to the right hand side for Watkins. The England international comes in field. Boubacar Kamara just dips the shoulder and moves away from Newell, and now it's Douglas Luiz forward for Watkins and back once more for Kamara. Out to the right hand side now for Bailey, former Bayer Leverkusen man, played against Rangers, as did Moussa Diaby a few years back. Into the penalty area it comes, but knocked away by Campbell. Up towards Yuan. Yuan needs to hold it up and bring teammates into play. He's going back into the danger area and he's giving it away in a poor area, and it's into the box it comes. It's back with Diaby, deflection right into the arms of David Marshall, and Eli Yuan will breathe a sigh of relief, almost putting his side in real trouble there. David Marshall makes the save.
I mean, Johan's given no help by Abita. Johan's coming towards him, Abita runs, instead he drops off. He does the exact opposite what he should do and leaves him in a really difficult situation. Hibs got lucky there.
And Ewan's almost, he knows he's taking it too far and he's getting pressed. He's almost actually better just putting out for a throw-in and getting everyone back in. But it was a really dangerous situation there for Hibs.
Offside flag up again against Hibs attacker, and Villa will have another free kick. But yeah, that was certainly the most dangerous Villa have looked, and it was Hibs doing effectively. As Eli Yuan went up a blind alley, but as John points out, he didn't have a great deal of support from his teammates, who rather hid rather than supported him. As Villa come forward once more, it's slipped by Diaby to Digne, left hand side, flashes it across the goal mouth. Back it comes for Kamara, little flick for Douglas Luiz, steps away from Stevenson, gets the shot in, blocked by Newell. About 12 yards from goal, away by Abita, but this is the most pressure Villa have had in the opening exchanges. Here they come once more, into the feet of Moussa Diaby, 50 million plus signing from Leverkusen. There's a glancing header and it's in! Villa have the lead. Ollie Watkins getting on the end of Luca Digne's pinpoint ball from the left hand side. He rose and just guided it beyond David Marshall into the bottom left hand corner of the keeper. And after 70 minutes, it's Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 1.
Tremendous delivery into the box from Dane. He's whipped it in, beautiful height, good tempo. It's a glancing header right into the corner. Keeper's got no chance. Bottom corner, in off the post.
He's 2 or 3 situations, Digne, where he's hit the first man. But if you keep giving players of that quality a chance to just pick their spot, it was a brilliant ball in and an amazing header from Ollie Watkins. David Marshall, no chance.
Just leading up to the goal, you just felt Aston Villa were beginning to get their passing crisper, little 1-2s bouncing it off each other.
Yeah, they just looked to be turning the screw a little bit, didn't they, John? And the ball was quality from Digne, absolutely right on the forehead of Ollie Watkins, who gets off the mark for the season in his 3rd game. 16 goals last time out, and that's him off the mark as Aston Villa strike first. Hibs had kept them out for just over a quarter of an hour, but Villa have the goal they were looking for, and Hibs must ensure they try and keep it tight for the rest of the half. They don't want to be losing more goals before the interval. They need to stay in this tie, as Lewis Miller just sees it out under a bit of pressure from John McGinn. 18 in though at Easter Road, and Hibs crowd just quietened that little bit with that Ollie Watkins header. Here's Eli Yuan though at the other end, midway inside the Villa half, out to the right hand side. Ventus low ball in, Boyle gets turned in the box, tries to get the shot away, it's blocked. Offside flag up again against Boyle, but it's going to be allowed to continue because Villa are on the counter, and it's Diaby who, as Stephen has pointed out, is absolutely electric. But Villa just take the sting out of the attack as McGinn goes back to Digne, and now in field inside their own half it's Torres, and they just bring it down to walking pace. And I think it's what you were talking about earlier on, Stephen, this notion of Emery wants them to, they want to suck players out almost before they make the killer passes.
Yes, and there Jordan Abita's the one that falls for it. He steps out and they find Ollie Watkins, and all of a sudden they're in their final third.
And it's Digne left hand side, comes to McGinn inside the box, clips it towards the back post, another chance, big chance over the top. That really should have been the number 2.
Magnificent play from John McGinn. Takes a touch in the box, lifts his head, delivers it right onto his head. That should be 2-0. Hibs got off with it there.
Leon Bailey arriving at the back post and couldn't keep his header down.
it's something Hibs will have spoken about, and they've been done great in the first 15 minutes not to fall for it, not to bounce out. All it takes is that goal, changes the mindset a little bit. Jordan Abita thinks he has to go, and all of a sudden Villa becomes so dangerous, and that Hibs are wide open.
Yeah, that could so easily have turned into 2-0 after 20 minutes, and it really would have been a devastating blow for Hibernian. You just have to regroup just at the moment and regain the composure that they began the game with, but Villa have certainly turned it up a notch just in the last 5 minutes or so, beginning to show their class. And you would certainly expect them to be challenging up and around the European places again in what is an ultra-competitive English Premier League. It's so difficult to choose who will be the top teams, with the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool last time out finding it really difficult. And some of these newcomers almost, Brighton and Villa, challenging up the top echelons as Boyle's fouled by Digne. And it's going to be the first yellow card of the game for the French fullback.
Great for Hibs that. Now, message has got to be feed Boyle. He's booked every single time you get him. Centre forward, fullbacks, stay away, isolate him, 1v1, one loss of concentration, one missed time tackle, and he can go off the pitch.
So it's a free kick to Hibernian, just a couple of yards in off the right touch line, about 35 yards maybe from the goal line. Joe Newell and Mark Boyle over this. You fancy it'll be the left foot of Newell to curl it in towards goal. Indeed, Boyle runs away from it. There's the in-swinger, but it's a poor ball from Newell. Doesn't beat the first defender, who was Digne. He's won it back, right hand side, slides it forward for Boyle, who looks offside again. Play allowed to continue for the moment at least, as Boyle clips it in, flicked on by Ewan at the near post. And now the flag goes up. It is the delayed flag that we are growing used to over the years. We know that, especially with video assistant referees in operation, the assistants are encouraged to keep their flags down and just let play continue, but it eventually goes up, and it will be a free kick to Villa deep in their own territory. 22 minutes on the clock. Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 1.
I think Martin Boyle, if he keeps doing it, at some point he's going to catch it. The Hibs players need to, as John says, need to isolate Digne against Boyle now. They have to keep looking for it. And yes, they're going to be offside at times, because Villa, it's something they're very good at. They work on it all the time, but at one point they will get in if they keep doing it.
Diego Carlos inside his own penalty area, plays it square for Konza. Boubacar Kamara takes possession in a tough area, but composed enough to keep the ball and just eventually find a teammate under real pressure from Venta. And Villa come out the other side as Martinez finds Torres, and then McGinn looking for Digne, and McGinn's overhit pass is greeted by cheers from the home crowd, who used to adore John McGinn, as he is part of Hibernian folklore, of course, with that 2016 Scottish Cup win. Newell picks up for Hibernian, switches play out to the left hand side for Stevenson, just crossing the halfway line. Forward he comes up against Bailey, out to the further to the left, and plays a 1-2. It's a neat 1-2 with Abita. Early ball in. Ewan just couldn't read the pass, and it was Carlos who almost misread it, but Villa recover and managed to clear the lines, and here they come on the counter down the right hand side now. Is Bailey infield for Kamara. Kamara out to the left for Digne. Another crossing position here potentially. Instead he just tries to slide it down the left channel for McGinn, but wasn't a good pass from Digne on that occasion, and all the way through to David Marshall.
Hibs have proved when you get up into that final third, they can cause problems to this back four. I don't think they're that comfortable when players are running at them.
Yeah, that was a chance just a moment ago, but Eli Ewan rather on his heels. I don't think he really anticipated the ball coming to him, as Villa pick up midway inside their own half through Digne. Back it goes to Torres, and now Diego Carlos into Kamara, midway inside his own half, as the Hibs fans try and get back behind their team and encourage them to find an equaliser. Ollie Watkins glancing ahead of the difference between the sides thus far, as Will Fish cuts out a through ball and then tries to play it back forward early on for Yuan, but Carlos was there, heads it down to Kamara just inside his own half. Douglas Luiz now forward for Watkins, lay off for Diaby running at the Hibs backline out to the left hand side. Digne again in an advanced position. Diaby hangs out to the edge of the box. Joe Newell, a sliding challenge, had to get that inch perfect. I think he got it bang on as Diaby stays in the ground after the challenge came in. The referee was in a good position to see it certainly and allowed it to go, and Hibs break up the other end. Boyle's done really well, wins it back off Torres for Yuan at the edge of the box. Now it's Venta. Obita's out of the left hand side of the penalty area. Can he find a cross for a teammate? Blocked away for a Hibs corner, and listen to that roar.
And that's got the fans going, but that all started with a terrific tackle here with Joe Newell in his own box. Ball up the line, again putting him in the back foot. Much better from Hibs.
Corner kick then from the left hand side to be taken by Joe Newell, who came on and got the goal back in Andorra. Made such a difference coming on at half time to bring them back into the tie, which still ended that leg in an embarrassing defeat, but they turned it round. And it'll be Newell, who's been excellent at the start of the season in general, to take from the left hand side. Left footed as Hibs form a queue at the edge of the box, trying to make something of this set piece to get back in level terms. Curled out of the way by Newell. It's met by the head of Carlos. Comes to Boyle at the edge of the box. Can he get room for the shot? There he goes. That's going to be a penalty. Oh, the referee waves his arms and says no chance. That looked like Boyle was taken out of play by Douglas Luiz, and the VAR will have a look at it, but the referee said not in his view. Goal kick.
I think this could be given. I think Martin Boyle's inviting the challenge coming, but I think there's connection there. Not given right away.
Not given.
Well, the video assistant referee Jose Luis Montero of Spain agrees with his colleague on the field that there wasn't enough in that, and Boyle hitting the deck goes unpenalised. For me, it looked like there was a bit of contact certainly between him and the Brazilian midfielder, but not given, and so it remains Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 1 after 27 minutes. But that's got the crowd on their feet again.
Will Fish giving the ball away there. He's got to be doing better. He's 20 yards, 25 yards away from his target. He can be 2-3 yards off, but not that far. Better quality required.
I think he's rushing it. I don't think he needs to rush it. I think he can get a few touches in with this other centre half, Paul Hanlon.
Emi Martinez with the ball at his feet at the edge of his penalty area, waiting again for Hibs to commit a man before playing the pass. Back it goes to the Argentine keeper. Again, he just waits for Eli Yuan to come within a couple of yards and then plays the long ball looking for Digne, but it's out of play, overhit, and it'll be a Hibernian throw-in.
It's interesting, that's the manager shouting at his goalkeeper for that long pass. It's very evident he doesn't want his goalkeeper playing long passes.
Throw-in taken by Miller, looking for Venta, but Torres is there first and knocks it back to Martinez.
He's very methodical, Unai. He wants it to build, he wants them to play this way and suck the Hibs players out and not to rush it, not to force it.
Konza back to Martinez, almost forced to go long that time. That's well won by Hanlon, but Torres just lets that drift behind.
Much better pressing from Hibs there. When the goalkeeper's got it, the whole team's pushed up the back four, you've more chance of winning it and stressing them. When they drop off too much, it's easy for the West Ham goalkeeper in the back four. I think they've got to be braver with the press. They can go another 10-15 yards up the pitch, Hibs.
Martinez again has it at his feet. He's just been linked with Bayern Munich, I saw during the week, but Villa will be keen to keep a hold of him. Such an important part of what they're building here as they try and build from the back once more. Up towards Watkins it goes. Knocks it back to Bailey, he can't keep it. Obita finds Newell, he lifts it over the Villa defence once more, looking for the continued run of Obita, but Kamara went back there and managed to find Konza, who's then fouled by Obita. It'll be a Villa free kick, which is quickly taken up to him again, midway inside his own half. He gets turned, centre of the park, and then back with Kamara, just inside his own half. Still 1-0 to the Midland side, with Ollie Watkins on 17 minutes, the glancing header, the difference between the teams so far. Out with Digne, who created that with a wicked ball in from the left-hand side. Back with Torres now on the halfway line, in field for Kamara. Douglas Luiz plays a quick ball round the corner for Watkins. Back with Kamara out to the right-hand side now to Leon Bailey. Bailey up against Stevenson, checks into the left, oh, just over the crossbar. It's out for a corner. It must have taken a clip. I'm not sure if it was off Marshall or the defender, but really got a hold of the shot. Certainly Leon Bailey had Lewis Stevenson beaten, but over the top it goes, and it will be a Villa corner.
It's top draw from Douglas Luiz. He's hardly touched it in the game so far, and like that, he plays the ball round the corner, just totally opens up Hibs. Leon Bailey has a one-on-one against Lewis Stevenson inside the box, all kinds of trouble. Good save, Marshall.
John McGinn over on the right-hand side to take the corner, left-footed, as Villa look for a second on the half-hour mark. Swings it in, header's won by Diego Carlos, and he really should be hitting the target from there, but instead it goes a yard or two beyond David Marshall's right-hand post. Tries to take the goal kick quickly to release Eli Yuan, but it was moving, reckons the referee, and he wants him to take it again, and that will restart with a Hibernian goal kick. Just over a half-hour mark, Aston Villa just missing out on a chance to go 2-0 up as Bailey had the shot deflected over, and then from the corner Diego Carlos heading wide when he should at least have been testing David Marshall, but it remains Hibs 0, Aston Villa 1. Marshall then goes long once more. Miller beating the jump by Digne. Down the Villa left it goes out of play. Will Fish will just leave that for Miller to take the throw in. About 15 yards inside his own half, the Australian fullback. Bit of a regular this season so far, having played only sporadically last season, partly through injury, as Newell almost gives it away, but it's out for another throw in to Hibs, this time in the halfway line, taken long by Miller. He was looking to try and get it over Digne for the speedy Boyle, but Digne did well to get his head to it, and then manages to clear his lines up to Watkins, who holds off the challenge of Miller and then dashes towards goal. Miller's trying to stay with him, slips it to his left for Diaby. Diaby edge of the penalty, through the legs there, oh, down goes Bailey this time. Referee has a look at it and shakes his head once more, and it's an offside flag is going to prevent any further danger for Aston Villa in any case, as the ball was played through. The challenge came in on Leon Bailey, but the offside flag is up.
You know, Alistair, one thing that really annoys me in football, when teams constantly give throw-ins away to the opposition, they don't even have to work to get it back. Miller there, he can throw it back to the centre half and go back to the goalkeeper in a switch of play, throws it up the line, lose possession. 5 seconds later, the opposition's nearly scoring a goal. You've got to think possession. Don't give the ball away easily.
Well, I thought it'd been the assistant was flagging for an offside, but evidently he was signalling it's a corner over on this near side, the far away side from his perspective. So it's a Villa corner, left-hand side, swung in, right-footed towards the back post, and it's stuck in again, and it's Ollie Watkins who's somehow managed to divert it beyond David Marshall from the tightest of angles. Thought it was almost impossible for him to do so, but he's managed to get it beyond the keeper and into the back of the net. And 33 minutes in, it's Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 2.
They work really hard on their set pieces with Austin McPhee. They've worked a block on Hibs. Diego Carlos is free and he's just a glancing header, and Ollie Watkins is there at the back post to tap it in. Aston Villa will be delighted in terms of they're not at their free-flowing best, but the 2-0 lead in a difficult tie, they'll be delighted with the start.
Really, really difficult now for Hibs. They've got to try and open up. This is a dangerous period. Not ideal, but let's see what they're made of. They've got to stay focused, stay together. Got to try and keep the ball. Say, giving the ball away too easily for my liking.
But John's right. Villa have a throw in. They've earned the right to throw in, a bit touch of the ball. Lewis Miller's got to take more responsibility. He's the one in charge of the ball. Nobody's forcing him to take a quick one. Get it into Joe Newell. Get your footballer players on the ball and switch the play, because Aston Villa just want you to throw up the park so they get the ball again.
He's thrown it. Martin Boyle's facing him. He's got a defender up his backside. What's he supposed to do? He's thrown it in the air to him. It's a pointless exercise. Why would you not throw it back, simple back to your centre half, back to your goalkeeper and out the other side. These are small details. Against Scottish Premier League teams, you get the ball straight back off the opposition, maybe 9 out of 10. Against this quality opposition, they punish you. If you keep giving the ball away, these quality players, they come and punish you.
There's a delay in the restart because Ezri Konsa took a head knock in the process of that goal going in as the corner was swung. It was glanced on at the near post. I think it was Diego Carlos, did you say, Stephen, who got the near post header, and there was Ollie Watkins at the back post somehow managing to squeeze it beyond David Marshall, and Aston Villa have a 2-goal advantage. Well, we knew it was going to be tough.
It's something in the VAR era. It's not something that's worked on a lot. The block, they've freed people up in the box, but Villa have did it. The corner previous that John takes, they've freed up Diego Carlos for a free header at the back post. They've did it again. This time he gets a glancing header on it. Ollie Watkins just waiting to let any good striker to tap it in.
We are back underway. Hibs trail by 2, and what began as an uphill task has become a mountainous one already. 10 minutes till the interval. Hibs could really do with a goal back as Stevenson tries to find Yuan. Poor pass though, and then he loses out in the challenge, and Villa looking to kill the tie off, perhaps even before half-time in the first leg. Hibs fans trying to stay with their side, but it's difficult when you've lost 2 first-half goals and you're up against really top-class opposition. Here's Kamara out to Konsa, who's recovered from that head knock. Back into Kamara. Now Carlos, halfway line for Villa. Again, just slowing the game down before really kicking back into gear when the time is right. Kamara and Konsa linking on the right-hand side. Konsa just forced back the way for now. Kamara out to the right for Bailey, tries to flick that beyond Stevenson. Was he caught there by the Hibs veteran? According to the referee, he was, and it'll be a free kick against Stevenson, making his 584th appearance for Hibs tonight. And this will be one of the toughest games I imagine he's played in. Bailey stayed down after that challenge by Stevenson on the halfway line.
He definitely caught him. It was not intentional, but typical Lewis Stevenson. He goes in 100%. He misses the ball. He gets it, man. What you're going to see now from Aston Villa is a team that's just going to pop it about, and they're just going to keep possession, tire Hibs out, pull them out of little pockets, and then go into those pockets. It's discipline now. Players have got to don't just run about all over the place. Got to run about together as a unit, not as individuals.
Villa have it moving once more. Torres plays it forward to Digne. Digne though loses it to Miller. Miller's ball forward. He didn't know much about it. It went to Eli Yuan, who was standing in an offside position, and the flag goes up, and Villa will have the free kick. And Martinez hasn't been worked particularly hard in this first period.
It's a difficult one for Lee Johnson now. What do you do? Bring a few extra players on, play with 12 players.
Half-time team talk, in which he will have to earn his corn as Villa have it at the edge of their own penalty area. Played forward for Diaby. Diaby fouled by Hanlon, gets back up, steps away, and then Yuan challenged by Diego Carlos. Hibs fans howling for a free kick, but nothing given. Villa continue, and it's Douglas Luiz forward for Watkins, who just nudges it on for Diaby, but he won't get there, and it's back with David Marshall.
Diaby looks really sharp. He hit the deck there and he just bounced back up like a bit of rubber.
Carlos winning the header before Yuan can latch on to the through ball. Campbell hasn't been able to get into the game at all, and then given away by Fish to Watkins, who's on a hat-trick. Who's down as he just runs into Fish. No free kick given. And the striker stays down. Play allowed to continue. He was very much in that, to be honest. And 6 minutes to the interval. Hibs trailing by 2-0. Stevenson for Obita down the left-hand side. Konsa putting pressure on him. Out of play it goes. Hibs throwing midway inside their own half over on the Hibs left. It's their 5th meeting with English opposition in Europe. They've only won 1 of the 8 ties in that time. They did manage to beat Liverpool in a UEFA Cup first round home tie, 1-0, but went out 3-2 in aggregate. Otherwise, it's generally speaking been tough for them against English opposition, and it certainly has been this evening so far. As Villa come forward once more, as Watkins on the edge of the box, can't keep it, but it comes back to Diaby, 25 yards from goal. Bailey now right hand side, Konza goes in the overlap, checks out of it, back it comes to Kamara, square now for Douglas Luiz, who tucked home a penalty against Everton. Now Torres, everyone for Aston Villa inside the Hibernian half except for the keeper. It's Diaby, about 35 yards from goal. Villa looking for a third before the interval. 5 minutes until half time. Luiz, central area, midway inside the Hibs half. Hibs trying to stay compact and not allow Villa an easy way through. Good challenge by Campbell. Villa just go back the way. Torres to Martinez at the edge of his area, who plays the ball out to Carlos, right hand side, about 15 yards inside his own half. Back comes Kamara there, and then he goes back to his goalkeeper. And Villa just playing keep ball at the moment. Really difficult for Hibs to try and get anything on it, and that can become pretty tiring physically, mentally, as the game progresses. That's given away though by Torres, likewise by Hanlon, picked up by Kamara. Right hand side now is Bailey, but 25 yards from goal, plays it square for McGinn. McGinn now out to the left hand side. Digne almost at the goal line. Can he find the cross? Good cross, there's a third goal. It's Leon Bailey this time. Digne the provider once more, and it's all too easy for Aston Villa as Digne just stands it up to the back post. And there was Leon Bailey, the Jamaican, who scored against Everton on Sunday, and he scored at Easter Road to make the score before half-time. Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 3.
And it's a superb goal from Aston Villa's point of view. Hibs players getting tired, you can actually see them physically, really. Levels have dropped the last 5 minutes, and you think they're going to cut them open. Exactly what they did. John McGinn, it's a wonderful pass. It's not to the player's feet, it's a pass right to the byline. Tailor-made for a left-footed like Dean. Just arrives right in the line and just dinks it, a perfectly weighted cross to the back post. Once again, they're winning the headers, which they're difficult to defend for centre halves because they're coming from dangerous areas next to the byline. But Hibs now, it's going to be a long night.
They've had warning after warning. They've let Lucas Digne throw cross in after cross in. He's not got a lot of them right, but if you keep letting him cross it, Lewis Miller's not done nearly enough to stop the balls coming in. If you keep letting a player of that quality with the left foot he has deliver, he's going to deliver a couple on the money, and that's what's happened for the first and the third goals.
It's a tough school this for Hibernian. Aston Villa, the big boys from the English Premier League, have come, and they haven't taken this lightly. They are throwing everything at Hibernian, and they've come away in this first half with 3 goals. So far, that is still a couple of minutes of the first half left. They haven't had to work overly hard for them, you'd have to say. And it's, as John said, going to be a long night. Not to mention the second leg to come in a week's time at Villa Park. Villa back in possession once more. Unai Emery out at the edge of his technical area, looking for even more from his side, as Douglas Luiz picks up away from the challenge of Campbell, gets it back from McGinn. Aston Villa really enjoying themselves out there now. Out to the left hand side it goes for Diaby. Diaby almost at the corner flag. Back it goes to Digne, and Diaby once more from Pau Torres. Diego Carlos inside the centre circle. And Villa fans singing "Can we play you every week?" rather unkindly to their hosts. But, the golfing class all too apparent, unfortunately, in this opening 45 minutes, as Digne picks up once more on the left hand side. He had things all his own way down that flank. Diego Carlos picks up on the halfway line.
that's the area of the park that's really hurting Hibs. Joe Newell and Josh Campbell, they're working so hard to get tight with Kamara and Douglas Luiz, but if their defenders don't come up with John McGinn or Diaby or Bailey, the space for them to turn and then just feeding the wide man, and it's so hard to stop. It's such hard work, but they've all got to try and do it together.
Here's Konza midway inside the Hibs half, inside the final minute of the 45. Hopefully from Hibs' point of view not too much in the way of injury time to play, as the ball's given away by Diaby. Just a little bit lackadaisical there, giving it to Yuan, who can't make any headway. He does play the ball off Bailey, wins the side, a throw in on the halfway line, but Hibs have had precious little to cheer them in this opening 45 minutes. Trail by 3 goals to 0, 2 from Ollie Watkins, 1 from Leon Bailey. As Hibs come forward, 4 minutes here is going to be added on, and we're just about moving into that at the end of this first period. Here's Joe Newell down the left hand side. If Hibs could get just a goal back before the interval, then it just would give them something to cling on to going into half time. Something to be positive about, but Aston Villa just playing their way out of a dangerous area rather comfortably there. As Digne puts it back to Torres, edge of his own area. John McGinn comes deep to collect possession, moves all the way back inside his own area, goes across his 6-yard box, and still Hibs can't get near them. It's Diego Carlos, forward it goes up to Watkins, just lays it off for Bailey, the scorer of the 3rd goal. Then he tries to return it for Watkins over the top. He could be in for a hat-trick here. Ollie Watkins, right hand side of the penalty area, just wide of the right hand post of David Marshall, only inches beyond that far post. Ollie Watkins, almost a 3rd goal for him in this first period, almost a 4th for Villa, but it will remain in injury time. Hibernian 0, Villa 3.
Tremendous play from Villa, starting on their own byline with John McGinn, playing a square pass in front of his goalkeeper. Most Scottish coaches would say what you do and you can't pass it, but footballers can pass it under pressure anywhere on the football pitch, and they're just stretching Hibs all over, creating space for themselves.
Villa have it left hand side. Digne just forces it down the flank. Across comes Fish, tries to look over the top for Boyle, but again Digne was there. Well, he might be about to leave the club. He's been hugely influential in this first half look at Digne. John, you'd pinpointed him as perhaps defensively a weak point, but it's been all offensive from him, and he's done his job particularly well.
The bottom line, when your team dominate possession, you're no longer a fullback, you're a winger in modern day football, and he's done all his good stuff in the left wing area, and there's no doubt he's got a terrific left foot. He wraps his foot around it.
There's Watkins. Fish with a challenge, but it was a pull back a moment earlier, and the referee gives Aston Villa the free kick just inside the Hibs half. It's Kamara. Very comfortable first 45 for the English side. Kamara once more, midway inside the Hibs half, looks out to the right hand side looking for Konza. Obita's there first. Obita was part of a Reading side he was talking about during the week that beat Aston Villa in the Championship a few years back. They're not coming close to reproducing that as Hibs side now. Villa at a different level from that team that came back up 4 years ago, and they've just improved pretty much year on year, and certainly last season their highest finish since they were last in Europe back in 2010 when they finished 6th, and they could get even better in the season to come. Here they are in possession once more. It's given away though by Diaby. Home fans want Hibs to come forward when they get the opportunity, and Campbell went back the way.
I think they'll invent his own, but I think when you've seen that little of the ball, he's worked so hard, Josh Campbell. He's just wanting a touch of the ball. He's just wanting to find the Hibs player, and that's what these teams can do to you.
Back with David Marshall inside his own 6-yard box, plays it out to Hanlon and Stevenson. Obita now down the left flank. And forward by Newell, one for Yuan to chase. Diego Carlos keeping his eye on it, heads it down for Konza. Konza loses it though to Yuan. Little step over, trying to get away from Kamara. Kamara sticking with him, perhaps illegally. I think that's what the fans are calling for. They wanted a free kick. It's not forthcoming, and Villa are on the break and looking for a 4th deep into stoppage time. We've played the 4 minutes. Play continues, out to the left-hand side it comes. It's Digne once more looking for the 1-2. He gets it inside the box, matched by Martin Boyle, held up. And there goes the half-time whistle to end Hibs' first half misery. The boos ring out round the stadium. I think that's really a criticism of Hibs as such, but they have been clearly second best, as many people feared. 3 goals Villa have managed in that first period. The first one set up just after the quarter-hour mark by Luca Digne. Cross from the left-hand side was pinpoint for Ollie Watkins to glance the header from about 12 yards past rooted to the spot David Marshall. Villa really had just prior to that begun to exert their authority, and from that moment onwards it was an iron grip they had on proceedings. Bailey had a header over just a few minutes later. The only real chink of light for Hibs in that first period was a Martin Boyle penalty claim just before the half-hour mark. I must say, I thought there was contact made by Douglas Luiz inside the Villa box, but the referee didn't think so, and neither did VAR, and so play continued. And then Villa added a second. That came when Ollie Watkins, just after the half-hour mark, got his head to the ball from a Douglas Luiz corner, glanced on at the near post by Diego Carlos, and finished at the back post from a tight angle by Watkins for his second of the game. And then just before the 45 minutes were up, Luca Digne again was the provider, this time for Leon Bailey at the back post, and the Jamaican headed past David Marshall. Watkins narrowly missing out on a first half hat-trick as he fired wide in injury time, but at half time it's already a damaging scoreline in this Europa Conference League playoff round first leg. It's Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 3.
From the highs of Hibs and Hearts' success last week, it's been a chastening night so far, to say the least, and you do think with some trepidation in terms of the second half at Easter Road. 3-0 to Aston Villa against Hibs at half-time. We will let our pundits reflect for a few minutes before we get some deeper thoughts on what they've seen and what they think may happen in this second half. In the meantime, there is more football on offer this evening in the SWPL. In fact, one match is already underway between Hearts and Rangers this evening at Oriam. It's kicked off at 6:30. It's currently 0-0. 5 other matches this evening across the country. Dundee United, they're at home to Hibernian at 7:30, and Montrose host Aberdeen at the same time at Links Park. A 7:45 kick-off at Ainsley Park this evening as Spartans take on Celtic. Glasgow City are up against Motherwell. That's an 8 o'clock kick-off at Petershill. And Hamilton Academical are in action at the ZLX Stadium as well. An 8 o'clock kick-off for them against Partick Thistle. As we heard in the trail, it's a big night tomorrow night for Scottish clubs in Europe. Häcken of Sweden, the opponents for Aberdeen as they attempt to make it into the Europa League group stage. Sports Sound will be on air at 5:45 for that. It's a 6 o'clock kick-off. And then Hearts in European action again tomorrow night as they attempt to get into the Europa Conference League group stage up against PAOK of Greece. That's going to be a 7:45 kick-off. You can hear that on Sports Sound here on BBC Radio Scotland as well, and you can join me on Sports Scene tomorrow night to see pictures of that as it happens. As it happens here at Easter Road this evening, it is looking very, very grim indeed for Hibs in terms of their hopes of progressing to the group stage of the Europa League. And let's be honest, at this moment, it would take an absolute miracle if that were to happen. Aston Villa 3-0 in front, in total control, and Hibs just unable to threaten so far, which begs the question, how will this end up? Let's hope it doesn't get too messy. You can't help thinking about that Malmo match against Hibs 10 years ago now. 7-0 it finished at Easter Road for the Swedish side. Then 9-0 on aggregate. Fingers crossed we don't have the same sort of scenario this evening. The Aston Villa fans singing, "Johnson, what's the score? Can we play you every week?" Football can be a very cruel game. Let's go back and get the thoughts of Stephen McGinn and John Collins, who've watched that first 45 minutes. And Stephen, if I can start with you, how would you sum it up?
Yeah, it was difficult. All the hopes of the Easter Road faithful, the atmosphere, they really rattled Aston Villa in terms of their passing range. They gave a few away, passing ones out the park. But if you let them deliver crosses like the first goal, which is a brilliant goal. I mean, the header's almost unstoppable, but if you let the balls come in very easily, they'll hurt you. It's a brilliant goal from Aston Villa's point of view. Then they start to enjoy the game, then they start making you run, and it's been a really difficult last 15-20 minutes for those Hibs boys. It wouldn't surprise me if it becomes about damage limitation. I wouldn't be surprised to say Jake Doyle-Hayes or Diego, maybe both, just to give Joe Newell and Campbell a bit of help in there, because they're working so hard, but they're just getting overloaded, and Aston Villa are picking them off, and the more tired they get in the game, the easier it is for Digna to get higher in the box and deliver quality.
John Collins, it has to be so difficult right now in that Hibs dressing room to find a sliver of hope here. What will Lee Johnson be saying to his players? Can you imagine?
Well, it's a difficult team talk. First half, I thought first 15 minutes Hibs kept their shape, but I was so disappointed that they never built from the back. 45 minutes, David Marshall launched everything. It's okay launching it if you've got Doidge at the top of the pitch who's winning flick-ons, taking it in his chest, letting midfielders come and support him. But you've got Johan up front, back to goal. One, he's not good in the air. Two, he's no good with his back to goal. So when you're playing it up the pitch and you're losing the possession first time, second time, you've got to think, we've got to change this. And the easiest place to get possession of the football pitch is in and around your goalkeeper, where you've got superior numbers. But obviously the manager has told them, push up and don't play out from the back. That was pretty obvious from where I'm watching. So it's a little bit late now to start. So where do you go from here? First thing, I wouldn't play Johan up the top of the pitch. For me, he's not a central striker playing back to goal. He's a winger who needs space, needs to face up a fullback, knock it past him and use his pace. So I would have him either off the pitch or out wide. I think he might bring in Doidge, because I think they're maybe going to go 4-5-1. And one thing you'll get about Doidge is he can take it on his chest, or he can win some flick-ons or at set pieces. But it's going to be a long 45 minutes, because this is an Aston Villa team now who's full of confidence, 3 goals up, and a manager that loves his team to keep the ball. So it's going to be a long 45 minutes. The Hibs players are going to try and keep their discipline, stay compact, because if they lose their discipline, don't stay compact, this could be anything in the second half.
Stephen, do you feel Aston Villa have maybe targeted the Hibs right-hand side? A lot of joy has come from balls coming in from the Aston Villa left into the Hibs box. And just generally, how impressed have you been by Villa so far?
Yes, certainly something we spoke about. I mean, just by the Hibs team selection, you'll have identified that the manager isn't fully certain of who his best right back is. So it's an area of the park as well where Hibs have maybe targeted Villa, but with the cat and mouse, they'll have spoke about Lucas Digne. Keep Martin Boyle, keep him running back, keep him defending, and then he can't hurt you going the other way. And as I said, there's been far too many occasions where maybe Lewis Miller's got out, but just not quite, and Lucas Digne is able to deliver balls. And when he finds his range, he's as good a left foot as you can get. And Ollie Watkins, improvement in him, as I speak about Unai Emery, he's improved a lot of players. Ollie Watkins does a lot of his best work in between the sticks now. A lot of the time in his previous years as a Villa striker, he spent a lot of time out in the channels, but Unai Emery's desperate for him to play between the sticks and pick up the goals like he did for the second one, real poacher's goals. And it's really punishing for Hibs, but they have to find a way of stopping the ball coming into the box.
And John McGinn obviously was the big narrative before this match, John. Actually, the real villain of the piece, if you like, might be Austin McPhee, because obviously their set piece coach at Aston Villa, and obviously goal number 2 coming from a set piece. Josh Campbell, of course, losing Ollie Watkins for that goal. And I suppose the question is just how disappointed have you been by Hibs, but how impressed have you been by Villa generally?
Well, they've had good deliveries into the box, they've had good movement in the box, and players attacking the ball. Hibs will be disappointed when the ball comes into your box. You want your centre halves to be getting their headers on it, but one thing, they've been good deliveries, but Aston Villa have had a better movement, attacking the ball. And as I say, they've been crossing the balls from dangerous areas. They haven't been crossing them from 30 yards out, easy for centre defenders. They've been getting to that byline, and they're hard for defenders to deal with. But they're a good football team, Aston Villa. Let's not kid ourselves. They're a top manager. They're playing with confidence. They all want the ball. The first thing, they build from the back every single time. And the one or two times when their goalkeeper played it long, their manager was out the dugout going crazy. I'm saying, why are you playing it long? Keep it on the deck, keep possession. Exact opposite of Hibs. Their goalkeeper's been launching up the pitch. You give the ball away against good players, it takes a long time and a lot of energy to get it back, and that's what you see in the last 20 minutes. That Hibs players were out on their knees, and at that stage Aston Villa looked like they can cut them open at will.
What was your thoughts, first to you, Stephen, in terms of the Hibs penalty claim? I don't think either of you have TV facilities there this evening, so you maybe haven't had a chance to see the replays. It was Douglas Luiz on Martin Boyle in the penalty area. The referee was clearly adamant. He felt there wasn't enough in it. Was that your instinct, John?
Well, I'm lucky. The gentleman in front of me, who I know has got a computer, so I got to see it in slow motion. It was not a penalty. I think Martin Boyle put his foot into the opponent. Maybe it looked like a penalty from up here initially, but when you see it in slow motion, 100% not.
My gut was he didn't really have the ball under control, and he was looking for Douglas Luiz to come in the back of him, and it felt as if he'd stuck his leg out to initiate the contact. Douglas Luiz almost trips over his leg. At the time you're thinking there's definite contact and he's fell onto Martin Boyle, but when we quickly got the replay, it looked like the right decision.
We're just getting the replays here into the studio as well, and I have to agree with both of you, absolutely. There was just not enough in it. It was almost a case of, it felt like Martin Boyle was hoping that Douglas Luiz would do something, but unfortunately for him, Luiz didn't do really anything at all. So unfortunately for Hibs, that's definitely gone a begging, and most people seem to be in agreement that it wasn't a penalty. And is that your gut instinct then, John? It's going to be a case of damage limitation for the second half. It seems such a shame, but at the same time, you were kind of thinking that when it was 1-0 to Aston Villa, you're almost thinking, well, if Hibs can get in at half-time at 1-0, that'd actually be quite good. But obviously, it's gone the other way, and you do worry a little bit, don't you?
Well, you've got to worry. 3-0 down against a team that have got a lot of quality. They've got pace in the wider areas. They've got a manager that makes sure his team don't give the ball away. A team that loves to keep possession. A big, fantastic surface here at Easter Road. They're going to, I know what their manager's going to be saying, make the pitch big, stretch it, get them working. First 15 minutes, take the juice out of Hibs' legs, and then the final 30 minutes you'll be able to carve them open. That'll be his team talk. Opposite team talk in opposite dressing room. Hibs manager will be saying, we've got to stay compact, got to stay disciplined. What you don't want to see is one player running and pressing 25 yards with no teammates round about him. That's the danger in the second half. They go in ones and twos instead of one unit. So we're going to see now, but it's going to be a long 45 minutes.
And that's what Villa are waiting on. That's what Unai Emery will be saying. It's how they build their play. Wait for the one person that comes out of shape, comes early, then we punish them, then we get it into John McGinn, then we get it into Diaby, and then we feed the forward boys. And that's how they can pick Hibs off. So they need to stay really disciplined, really patient here.
I'm sure John McGinn will get a Stephen McGinn critique of his performance at some point, maybe later tonight, perhaps tomorrow. Stephen, how would you sum up your brother's first half?
Yeah, he's been playing really well. I will bring up the fact that he passed the ball out the pitch at one point and tried to look about to see who he could blame. But now he's playing at the top of his game. As I said, Unai Emery's made players better. He's taken John to another level again, as hopefully we'll see in the next couple of weeks for Scotland. He's playing at the form of his life, so he's been a real threat for the Hibs boys.
I hope he's in that dressing room telling him to take the foot off the gas. That's what I'm hoping for.
I think John McGinn's confidence this evening summed up just a couple of minutes before half-time there, playing that ball across the face of his own goal.
Yeah, in the first 10 minutes, as I said, the Aston Villa boys were misplacing passes. The boys of this quality, top level, once they start to enjoy the game, they ain't missing passes.
Absolutely. What will happen in the second half? I think there might be a change of goalkeeper on the cards for Aston Villa. Brian McLaughlin can tell us.
Yeah, there's a change for both sides. Robin Olsen has come on in goal. He'll be replacing Emilio Martinez in the Aston Villa goal. And a change for Hibernian as well. Jordan Abita's night is over. James Jago coming on. Lee Johnson told me before the game he thought his formation and the team would be flexible. Well, there's going to have to be some flex in this team to get back into this match now. 45 minutes left. Hibs trailing by 3-0.
The second half just about to get underway. Your match commentator is Alistair Lamont.
Thanks, Jonathan, and indeed it is back underway with those two changes that Brian has brought us. Jimmy Jago on, presumably to add a bit of steel in the middle of the park, and almost some early work for Robin Olsen in the Villa goal to do. It's an interesting change. I wonder if that is an enforced one, or as Ellie Ewan comes into the box and almost an opening there, plays a dangerous ball across, but no Hibs player can get onto it, and Villa turn away. I'm just wondering if that change in goal for Villa is an enforced one, or maybe just with the game as good as one. Chance for Robin Olsen to get some game time. Very experienced Swedish keeper as Hibs come forward once more into the penalty area, right hand side. Just a delay there from Lewis Miller as he had the opportunity to get the ball in. Douglas Luiz eventually knocking it behind for a corner kick, but a positive start at least in the second half for Hibs.
Real positive start, much better. They pressed high up the pitch, won the ball. Johan straight away, he's getting the ball, facing the fullback, running into the box. Need more of that.
No injury to Emi Martinez informed from Brian down in the touchline as Hibs prepared to take the corner. Joe Newell, right hand side in swinger. Diego Carlos gets his head to it to knock it out of the penalty area. Comes to Jago and out to Ewan, left hand side as Hibs look to somehow get back into the game. Ewan goes for goal, and a really good save from Olsen. Really top effort also from Ewan. Maybe just couldn't quite find a corner just over the top of Robin Olsen's head, and he stuck up the arm and guided it over the crossbar. This is much better from Hibs.
That is when he's at his very best, when he's wider, facing up a player. He's not good with his back to goal. The manager will be thinking, why did I not play him there at the start of the match?
Another corner from the right hand side. Newell again swings it in. Out comes the keeper, just gets a glove to that and knocks it out of the penalty area on the right hand side, and Villa will try and counter. Good challenge there from Will Fisher, Douglas Luiz. It'll be an Aston Villa throw in. 3-0 Villa lead, but Hibs out the traps pretty smartly in the second half, Stephen.
Yeah, and I know the minority booed them off, but I think the crowd have recognised that they're going to need help in the second half. They don't want another Malmo. They want another. The way this first half started, the Hibs boys really on top of the Aston Villa boys and making it difficult for them.
That Malmo mention was in regard to their heaviest ever European defeat, 7-0 here under Pat Fenlon. And I did look up the heaviest ever defeat, because you know you've got to have that in your mind against a team of this quality who come forward, and it's a hat-trick for Ollie Watkins. Oh no, it's not. The flag is up to deny him, but they'll go and take the acclaim of the Villa fans, but it's all in vain, as I'm assuming Digne was the man who was offside earlier in the move. Didn't look like Watkins was. The VAR will double check the decision is correct, but almost a fourth goal in the blink of an eye from Aston Villa.
It looked really tight, but Lucas Digne's causing all sorts of problems. Two of the Hibs players attracted to John come to the ball, and they just find Digne. Lewis Miller's too far off him again. It's just a first time ball, and Ollie Watkins is marginally offside by the looks of it.
Yeah, the word is good news was offside, and so it will not be an Ollie Watkins hat-trick yet, and it won't be an Aston Villa fourth goal yet, but it's a warning to Hibs who'd started the second half so positively. That's not official yet, incidentally. That's still being looked at by the officials, but I just had a word in my ear from the producer to say they've had a rerun and it looks offside, so hopefully that will be the decision, and Hibs can get back to the positive start they'd made to this second period. But it just shows, I mean, that counter-attack was absolutely lightning, wasn't it?
Goal.
Oh, he's given it. Well, Mr. Producer, thanks very much for that.
It looked really tight. But it's an unbelievable ball in from Lucas Digne again, and Wally Watkins gets his hat-trick.
Yeah, well, it was certainly a marginal decision, and I must say, if you look back at last night, for instance, I thought Cyril Dessers was going to be flagged offside for Rangers' second goal, and when you eventually saw the lines, it was just on, and so the naked eye can certainly be confused until those lines are drawn. The good news for Ollie Watkins is that he has a hat-trick in Aston Villa colours here at Easter Road, but Hibs, after that positive start to the second half, find themselves 4 goals down.
That's the difference at this level. The final ball, the delivery, it's just passed into his path. Beautiful on the deck and a good finish.
That's such a blow to Hibs, because as much as they probably didn't really realistically feel they were going to get back into the tie, just to try and make something positive of the evening, as they had done at the start of the second period, but so quickly they find Aston Villa breaking on them, and Watkins so deadly, and Digne has just been on the money. That's his 3rd assist of the night, and here he goes again down the left-hand side, and Hibernian fans must have been wishing that his transfer to Nice had gone through.
Yeah. They might need to change something in that area, Hibs. Maybe move Martin Boyle through the middle, or because Lucas Digne is just having the whole run of the place.
Here's Vente on for Boyle, right-hand side. Hibs look to try and get something on the board. Boyle into the penalty area, but away by Kamara, picked up by McGinn, touches it back there to Douglas Luiz, and then McGinn once more, left-hand side, forward for the excellent Watkins. McGinn once more, still on the left, infield to Douglas Luiz, and then Kamara. And Aston Villa's passing is just a joy to watch at the moment, unless you're a big fan of the Leeds side.
The difference is the man in possession has options, left, right, front, behind. Lots of short passes, easy passes, but they're all easy if your teammates are really wanting the ball.
All the way back to Olsen, who was made to work hard just a moment or two after coming on, but he finds the ball out to Douglas Luiz, who just flips it round the corner out to Konza, and here come Villa again. It's wonderful to watch. It's Kamara for Luiz, now to the left-hand side for that man Digne again. He looks up, he tries to cut it back. This time it's a poor attempted pass. Looked like it might have been a handball by Josh Campbell as he tried to bring it under control. Villa claimed for it, and Hibs do have a free kick eventually, as Campbell was dragged back as he tried to help support Yuan. It will be Hibs' free kick midway inside their own half of play. It's at 52 minutes here at Easter Road, and unfortunately for Hibs, the scoreline reads Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 4.
Again, Lewis Miller's too tight in there. He's worrying about the striker. That's the centre-half's job. Lucas Digne is a threat to Hibs and to Lewis Miller, and it's a poor final ball actually from Lucas Digne, but he's got so much time to pick a Aston Villa player out.
Will Fish has it at the edge of his penalty area. Aston Villa with rich European pedigree. You go back to that European Cup win in 1982 when they beat Bayern Munich 1-0 in Rotterdam. There were 3 Scots in that side, one of them Des Bremner, a former Hibernian player as well, paraded to the crowd before this game. Here's Elliot Yuan trying to help Hibs get something back, breaks the way of Newell, and then to Campbell, just gets a rather scuffed shot away, breaks kindly for Olsen in the Villa goal, who immediately launches that, looking for Watkins again, but it's all the way through to David Marshall, who collects comfortably. And just going back to that Villa team of 82, the other Scots, Alan Evans and Ken McNaught also in the team, and Halcyon days.
So Hibs decide to start playing out from the back when they're 4-0 down. I don't know why they never did that at the beginning of the game.
Torres has it on his own goal line, tries to clear, but it's a poor clearance. Campbell just looked to be caught there at the edge of the box, but play continues and Villa work it clear. Douglas Luiz just shows too much of that though to Joe Newell, and it's out eventually off Newell for a throw-in in this near side to Aston Villa. 9 minutes gone in the second period, 4 goals up. Unai Emery's side find themselves and well on their way to the group stage of the Europa Conference League.
Joe Newell's been thinking about that tackle all week as a boyhood Birmingham fan.
Yeah, he'll not be enjoying this as a boyhood Birmingham City fan, that's for sure. Or indeed as a Hibs player. It's a free kick to Villa, deep in their own territory. Konza is just going to leave this to Diego Carlos, who switches play out to Digne, and acres of space out on that far side on the halfway line. Forward he comes, and then infield to Douglas Luiz. Shot for Kamara, infield to McGinn, back with Kamara on the halfway line. Villa just strolling about just at the moment. 1-2 there between Kamara and Douglas Luiz. It's effortless between those two. Now it's Diaby advancing towards the penalty area, into the penalty area, past Stevenson. Yuan just shields the ball away from Diaby and back into the arms of his grateful goalkeeper. As Aston Villa look like they could score pretty much every time they come forward at the moment. Bowled out by Marshall for Hanlon, left hand side. Hoists it forward as Boyle managed to stay onside. No, he hasn't. The assistant's flag tells us. And it will be a free kick to Aston Villa. And Villa, to their credit, have played that high line pretty well all evening. Hibs really haven't been able to break it at all.
Yeah, it's something I'm surprised they've not had a look at. Maybe the sky's drawn and someone coming from deeper, because it is something they're very, very good at, and you're not going to get in with a long straight ball.
Torres has it for Villa inside his own half. Long time since Hibernian were in European competitive action, at least 05-06. We were beaten by the Dnipro. John, you'll excuse me if I don't count your foray into the Intertoto Cup. But they're not going to be there this time either. They've had a good run to this stage. The Luzerne results were highly impressive, but they've come up against a side who are just a class or two above even that this evening. And Villa could well go on and replicate West Ham's success last season in this competition.
They're a very well drilled team, in possession, out of possession. Everybody knows their jobs. There's confidence. Everybody wants the ball. Man in possession's got lots of options, and they've got trickery in the wide areas. They've got players that can beat a man as well.
Bailey keeps it in on the right hand side, back to Konza midway inside the Hibs half. Forward comes Kamara, he's just dispossessed, and then it comes off his arm as Hibs try to clear. And it will be a free kick to Lee Johnson's side, just on the edge of their own territory. 57 minutes in.
Apart from the glamour of the tie, it is the most difficult game they could have got. You would think that Aston Villa aren't far off being the favourites for the whole tournament, so in qualifying it's as hard as it gets, and they've shown a quality here.
Certainly are, guided by a manager who knows exactly what it takes to win in Europe. 3 Europa League titles with Sevilla, 1 with Villarreal, and it's just obvious what he brings to the Premier League and to Aston Villa in particular. As McGinn catches Lewis Miller in possession, and Villa have it back once more. It's trying to hound Villa in possession, but it's out for a throw-in to the English side over on the far side. And it's all about really how many Hibs can limit Aston Villa to just at the moment. As the throw-in is taken over on the far side by Digne. Douglas Luiz gets it back to Torres, who comes all the way back to the substitute keeper Robin Olsen, who played for PAOK back in 2015-16 and will be seeing them in action tomorrow night on the other side of Edinburgh. We'll have that live for you on both radio and BBC Scotland Television. 7:45 kick-off. Ahead of that we've got Haken against Aberdeen also. That is on radio with a 6 o'clock kick-off. All the European action live on the BBC as Hibs cough up possession rather easily. And here's Watkins coming forward again down the left infield. He has Diaby, one touch out of his feet, and it's deflected wide for another Aston Villa corner. Diaby still looking to get on the score sheet tonight. You wouldn't bet against it, but denied on that occasion.
Again, where did the move start? It starts all the way back with the goalkeeper putting his foot on the ball with studs, sucking Hibs players towards him to create the space at the top of the pitch. Just well drilled, possession based, intelligent football.
Villa corner then on the right hand side. Digne, the left footer, coming across to deliver this one, already with 3 assists to his name, looking to add to that tally as Villa throw everyone forward apart from the goalkeeper is within 25 yards of David Marshall's goal. Digne looking for one of those options, sends it back post, one at the back post but onto the roof of the net by Konza, and again that could so easily have found its way past David Marshall and in for a 5th goal, but as it was,
once again good delivery, but who gets ahead in the box? An Aston Villa player, better movement, better timing in the air. It is more difficult nowadays for defenders. You can't block, you can't hold jerseys like the old days. Once they're away from you, they're away from you in the box, but their movement's very good.
Austin McPhee certainly has a role to play in that set piece expert for both Villa and Scotland.
He's not taking them and he's no head on them.
No, I'll give you that, but he's helping set them up. Credit where it's due. But absolutely, they have to be executed, and Villa have proven themselves pretty adept at that. It's back with Villa, defensive position. Diego Carlos just rolls it square for Pau Torres. McGinn then back to Douglas Luiz, forward now for Watkins, onto Diaby. Quick football when it gets into this final third. Bailey's done brilliantly away from Hanlon, looks to cut it back for Watkins, just nudged away from him. McGinn can't get there. Diaby was down, claiming for a free kick earlier in the move. Hibs have it back, and it's Campbell out to Yuan, right hand side, up against Torres, trying to take him on for pace. Yuan gets the cross into the box, Carlos cuts it out of the near post, and Watkins is back there to collect possession just beyond the hour mark. Still Hibs 0, Villa 4, and even the Hibs counters coming to nothing this evening as Diaby tries a little back heel, comes to nothing, and Hibs do win it through Diego out to the left hand side for Stevenson. Stevenson midway inside the Villa half. Back it goes to Diego once more, and now Will Fish just inside his own half out to the right hand side for Miller. This is about as tough an evening as Hibs will experience all season, if not in their entire career. It has been a real footballing lesson, and unfortunately for them, still 28 minutes to go. Back with Will Fish, midway inside his own half. I think Aston Villa preparing another change. Brian, this little lull in play, perhaps you can bring us up to speed.
Yeah, Boubacar Kamara, who's been outstanding tonight for Villa, is going to be replaced. It's not getting much easier though, because coming on will be number 8, 60 times Belgium cap, Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah, he's a class act, former Leicester City man, that's for sure, and it tells you everything about the quality of Aston Villa's first 11 that he hasn't been able to get into it yet. He's just preparing to come on, but Hibs have a throw-in over on the far side, and I think Villa are just going to delay until they've defended this situation, or otherwise, as Hibs hope the case will be. 18 minutes of the first half gone, 4-0 they trail, looking to get at least a goal to give them something to cling on to, as little as that might be. It's Lewis Miller, right hand side, launches it into the penalty area. Up goes Hanlon, beaten to it by Kamara, comes back to Newell though, edge of the box, turns away from Diaby. Was he fouled there at the edge of the box? Referee had a look at it and allows play to continue. Diego tries to help it down the right hand side, comes back to Yuan, up towards the penalty area, tries to come in field, but he runs into bother in the shape of Douglas Luiz, playing as a number 6 and operating in that particular role highly effectively. Was linked with Liverpool, who have been desperately trying to get a number 6 in the door, and he's certainly one who fulfills that role superbly.
I think when the Tielemans signing happened, you're actually looking at the partnership of Luiz and Kamara and how good it was at the back end of last season, and thinking, where does he fit into that? Because it's such a good partnership. But I really like Kamara. I think he's a top player. When you think of the money that Declan Rice went for, Caicedo's going for, Kamara's right up there with boys for me.
It's just forward planning. I would imagine they'll be selling Kamara in a year's time, so they get Tielemans in, he gets a feel for the club, the team. He's going to have to be sitting on the bench, I would think.
But also, I mean, the bottom line is, especially if you're in Europe, as many managers have spoken to me about, you know, it's not a first 11 really anymore, is it? It's a squad game, and you have to have, if you're challenging at the top end of the EPL, you're going to have quality and depth, and Tielemans certainly gives them that in the centre of the park. Anyway, he's still waiting to come on, because Bailey has it down the right hand side, up against Stevenson, one way then the other. Stevenson trying to hold him up, out comes Diego to win possession for Hibernian, tries to get his lines cleared and does that down the left. Venta gives chase, but Diego Carlos there first, and then Ezri Konza showing real good skill up against Josh Campbell, and then finds Douglas Luiz, and now it's John McGinn trying to thread it through for Watkins. Gets the pass off for Diaby. It's a wayward shot from Diaby, who hasn't quite been in so far this evening. 25 minutes left of the game. It's Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 4, as the Tielemans substitution is about to take place. If the fourth official can get his board working. Well, play has resumed once more, and Tielemans shrugs the shoulders and has to wait a few seconds more as Villa pick up once more. And it's Diaby with his back to goal, midway inside the Hibernian half, out to the right hand side for Konza, who's looked very comfortable there at right back, having moved across from centre back where he played against Everton in the week. Torres now forward for John McGinn. Out to Digne up against Lewis Miller. McGinn again inside the box, left hand side. Can he get the ball across goal? Not quite, but he does earn his side a corner kick.
He's did much better there, Lewis Miller, but he needs to go the whole way. He's close enough to Digne to get a feel for him, to get a contact with him. He stands 2 yards apart, and he allows John to run in behind him, and John gets played in and wins the team a corner.
Off comes Boubacar Kamara, and on comes, as Brian said, Yuri Tielemans, and then the word is that Hibs are going to make a trio of changes as Villa, I think, plan another one as well. Brian will be busy for the next minute or so, so just let this corner play out as Brian gets to grips with exactly who's coming on there. Corner kick then for Villa over on the far side. Almost 3/4 of the game played. Villa with a 4-0 advantage. The ball swept in near post, and that was evasive action taken at the near post by Dylan Venta to prevent the ball going straight in at the near post. There wasn't really anyone on the near post as such, and it might just well have crept in had Venta not managed to get back there and knock it behind for another corner.
It's a definite tactic. Douglas Luiz has scored a few of their corners.
Whips him in.
Catch the goalkeeper out.
Yeah, here he comes once more. He's going to try it again. This time it's into the side netting, and it will be a goal kick to Hibs. And we can cross now to Brian McLaughlin with news of the changes.
Yeah, thanks Al, waiting to get the paperwork done here. Yeah, 3 changes for Hibs. Jake Doyle, Hayes, Christian Doidge and Rocky Bashiri are the players going to be coming on. Josh Campbell, Dylan Vente and captain Paul Hanlon, the ones being replaced.
And a couple of changes for Villa by the looks of it as well. Brian, are you in a position to confirm those?
Well, I can tell you who's coming on, Al. It's going to be number 24 Jean Duran and number 9 Bertrand Traore. The fourth official now has the board up. I think that's still the final Hibernian substitute is, 32 for 8, But we only have the one board down here at the moment, but the number's just about to go up. So it's definitely going to be Duran coming on along with Traore. The players being replaced, the board going up. Now, number 31, Leon Bailey, who's just had a magnificent 68 minutes so far this evening. They'll be resting him up, of course. Villa away to Burnley in the Premier League on Sunday afternoon. Traore also coming on. The player he's replacing, hat-trick hero, Ollie Watkins.
Thanks, Brian. Duran and Traore on for the final quarter of the game. Traore on the score sheet for his first goal in Villa colours, I think, at the weekend, taking advantage of some less than impressive Everton defending, it has to be said, but the young Colombian notching for the first time in Villa colours when he came on. And Bertrand Traore, Burkina Faso international, actually played against Hearts last season for Başak Şehir on loan, the first half of last season. So he and Duran on to try and add to the scoring for Villa as McGinn plays it out to the left hand side for Digne. Back now with McGinn, Douglas Luiz, Torres at the back, just a couple of yards inside his own half, out to the left hand side once more for McGinn, who's found Douglas Luiz square in the halfway line. Forward looking there for Duran, but Hibs have won it back. Doige tries to use the pace of Martin Boyle, but Torres was there ahead of him and he manages to get it back to his keeper. And again Villa just so comfortable playing out from the back. The ball's round the corner, they're played blind, but they're not really blind because the players are checking their shoulder all the time. They know exactly what's on and when.
It was unbelievable from Tielemans because Joe Newell really sniffed it. It wasn't a brilliant pass to Tielemans from the goalkeeper, but it was just an amazing first time pass.
Forward come Villa, but Diego there to cut out that ball in from Digne, and Hibs try to release Yuan down the left hand side. Konza just trying to make sure he doesn't get in front of him and get to the ball, and he's managed to do that. Yuan had a little clip at his heels and the referee just says, right, just settle that down, and it will just be a Villa throw-in 10 yards or so from their own corner flag. 20 to play, Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 4. It's been a canter this second half, John Collins.
Well, they're just knocking the ball about, the movement in the middle of the pitch, little triangles, one touch. It's next to impossible for the Hibs midfield to get near them. When teams play one touch, you can't get tackles in. 2 and 3 touch, you get a nibble at them. 1 touch, you can't.
Free kick goes Villa's way for the attentions of Will Fish on Duran, 19-year-old striker, signed in January from Chicago for £16 million, and looking to try and make an impact this season. Yet to start a game for Villa as it's flicked on by Traore. Duran couldn't keep it, and Yuan comes down the left hand side, but good working back there by Diaby. And now it's back with Konza, and Villa just slowing the game down. As Brian said, Villa up against Burnley at the weekend, and looking to get another positive result ahead of the second leg, which is of course next Thursday. Villa in possession, deep in their own territory, but no panicking as ever, as McGinn picks up with his back to goal, plays it infield, slightly wayward, but Tielemans manages to win that ahead of Doige, and now it's back with Diego Carlos just outside his own penalty area. Plays a short ball into Tielemans. He scored that fabulous FA Cup winning goal a couple of years back against Chelsea, but leaving Leicester on a free. That's a fabulous bit of business, apart from anything else, managing to get him under freedom of contract. Out it goes to Duran, to Traore, I beg your pardon, on this right hand side. Oh, it's got to be a penalty, and it is. He was just taken right out of play by Lewis Stevenson, who was sold a magnificent dummy by Traore. Took him one way then the other. The fullback just couldn't wait to swipe him down.
Even I was sold with that dummy up here. It was a magnificent fake with his left peg, wasn't it? Wow, chopped it inside. Sorry, Lewis.
He's so left-footed. I think Lewis just thought he was going to shoot with his left, and he's trying desperately to block his left foot shot, and he cuts onto his right, and it's the biggest Stonewall penalty you've ever seen.
Yeah, well, we thought the Martin Boyle one might have been a penalty. First half we were disproved on that front by the replays, but I don't think there's any doubt about that one, and there was no complaints there from Lewis Stevenson. And it will be Douglas Luiz, who, as I mentioned earlier, dispatched one against Everton on Sunday, and now he has the chance against David Marshall. He knows a thing about saving penalties. Can he prevent his side from falling 5 goals down as the Brazilian midfielder takes the slow run up and sends the keeper the wrong way, and it's 5-0 to Aston Villa. And in all fairness, it doesn't flatter them. They really have been a class apart this evening at Easter Road. They celebrate in front of their fans. It's Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 5, with still over a quarter of an hour to play.
Opposite side, he goes from Sunday. He sends it to the goalkeeper's left on Sunday. Today it's the reverse, sends David Marshall the wrong way. Really cool performance again from Douglas Luiz. They've just been really, really comfortable in there.
A difficult night from the Hibs players, the Hibs fans, but from a purist point of view, you've got to admire the way this Aston Villa move the ball about in tight situations. Intelligence, they trust each other. players are marked, they still give it to them a safe side, little details that's why they're playing in the English Premier League.
Another change after that fifth Aston Villa goal for the visitors, Brian.
Yeah, the fifth and final change made by Unai Emery. The player being replaced, Ezri Konsa, coming on to replace Matty Cash, the only player who's missed out tonight from the side that beat Everton at the weekend. So Konsa off, Matty Cash on for the last 15 minutes.
Straight swap it right back there. The Polish international, English born, comes on as Ewan looks to test him immediately, going down the Hibs left, but then tries to play it for Doidge, and nothing coming off for Hibernian tonight, you've got to say.
I know we spoke about it a lot with the offside trap, but Ewan just puts his head down for a minute and the whole Aston Villa back four step up, and immediately Christian Doidge is offside and Ewan doesn't have a pass.
Doidge just won it back though, angle of the box, left hand side, comes back the way for Stevenson. Jonathan used the word chastening at half time. It certainly hasn't been a chastening evening. I don't think anyone really predicted anything other than this sort of outcome, but I don't think either any of us certainly take any pleasure from being correct. We would have much preferred Hibs to have been able to make a game of it, kept it a lot tighter going into the second leg, but that second leg is going to be as close to a dead rubber as is possible, as Villa will comfortably be taking their place in the Europa Conference League group stage. Hibs will have to settle for domestic football and getting some points on the board, which they'll have to try and do against Livingston at the weekend, having lost their first two. And although Lee Johnson wouldn't have been expected to take anything from this game realistically, he will come under pressure if they can't begin to do better in the league. As Villa come forward once more, the dummy from again, and it's knocked behind by Lewis Stevenson just past the post of David Marshall, with a couple of Villa players coming in behind him who couldn't take any chances. A Villa corner, and it's 5-0 the visitors lead.
Once again, Lucas Dean getting into dangerous areas, delivering quality into the box. Excellent little dummy from John McGinn, looking for a centre forward to be behind him for a tap in, but thankfully for Hibs it was Lewis Stevenson there. That just good quality movement.
It's that one Aston Villa are waiting from. Joe Newell thinks he's doing the right thing, he's charging down the goalkeeper, trying to work so hard for his team, but that's what they're waiting for. They pick you off, and Lucas Dean is the man over and a work space for himself, and Aston Villa probably should have scored there.
So the corner kick to be taken right hand side by Digne, back to Diaby, down the touchline it goes, comes up to the angle of the box, out now to Tielemans, back with Digne, he's onside, right footed ball in this time. Doidge gets the header clear from about 12 yards out. Douglas Luiz just plays it back out to the right hand side for Tielemans, down the right flank it goes for Traore, and then back with Tielemans. He's run into trouble though, and he just has a little pull back there on Doyle Hayes, and he might he ends up in the book here. It's certainly going to be a free kick to Hibernian. I think the referee is going to be lenient there on the Belgian, who couldn't find a way through. 13 minutes to play of the 90. Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 5. Free kick to Hibs, just inside the Villa half. Played square to Bashiri, and out to the right hand side now for Miller. Bashiri once more tries the big switch of play, and pretty aimless from the centre back, and out of play for a Villa throw in about 15-20 yards inside their own half. 12 minutes left.
Again, easy possession given away.
Certainly was, yeah, wasteful from Bashiri, as Matty Cash takes a really dodgy throw in, and Boyle almost able to get in. It was a bit like the one that Villa benefited from against Everton at the weekend, but on this occasion Hibs couldn't profit, and now Villa will come forward on the counter. And it's Digne back to McGinn. Again, the pace just taken out of that. They don't have to be in a great hurry now, Aston Villa. They have built up a handsome lead, and they have it on the halfway line. It's Cash who got away with that throw in. It's the Villa fans in full voice away to our right hand side. They've travelled, I think there's about 1,000 of them or so here inside Easter Road. There'll be a good number more than that inside Villa Park in a week's time, as forward they come. It's Traore who's testing Stevenson again, in on the left hand side again. He sold him the dummy, still he has it. Can he get past the keeper? He can't. Marshall foils him. Back to Tielemans, right hand side of the box, sends it to the back post. Digne, can he cap his night with a goal? It's deflected wide for a corner. Well, Traore has been tormenting Stevenson till he came on. Another dummy there, one on the space. He couldn't find the finish. It will be ultimately an Aston Villa corner as they lead 5-0.
For me, just a little overall habit. He had an opportunity, I think, to bend it in the far corner of his left peg, tried to chop it again. Thankfully,
from Hibs' point of view, Ellie Ewan's got to do more to help out Lewis Stevenson there. He's backing away into his own box. He's in a world of trouble. He needs his winger to get back and help him out there.
So a corner kick from the left hand side, taken short by Villa. Boyle gets the challenge in there, but Digne has it back. Boyle doing well again. He's allowed to continue with Digne claiming for a free kick, and he released Ewan here. Well, he tried to, but it's good backtracking in all fairness, and Villa managed to win possession back.
I think we've just seen how quick Diaby is.
That is Diaby that's back there. I was almost kind of thinking it can't possibly be Diaby who's all the way back defending that, but it was.
An incredible change of pace. Wow.
Yeah, because Ewan's fast, right? And Diaby was just showed him no signs whatsoever of getting in there.
Effortless.
But also a terrific work ethic.
Well, that's the key. It's not just about talent and skill, it's about hard work.
Yeah, I suspect that's something that Unai Emery drills into his players as well, as Diaby now comes down the other end, and it's Traore out on the right hand side up against Stevenson once more, plays it infield. It'll come to McGinn, who I suspect would absolutely love a goal here at Easter Road. Not to be just for the moment, as Tielemans plays it out to the right hand side for Cash. Back again with Tielemans.
But the difference Joe Newell makes to Lewis Stevenson there, that's why people say you're a good teammate. You recognise you're in trouble, you come over and you help him. The damage is limited.
Given away momentarily there by Douglas Luiz, but Tielemans wins it back. Hibs though battling away there. Deutsch has it, and then Newell, and Ewan released in the left channel. Back goes Diego Carlos. Ewan, a terrible touch, and he's run it out of play. It's so frustrating for Hibernian and his manager Eli Ewan, just taking a heavy touch when he was in such a good position. So it's out for a goal kick. 5-0.
So frustrating. Pace, he's in a great position. All it takes that little bit of composure, either square or have a shot. Miscontrols it, takes his eye off the ball.
It's a goal kick to Villa, although the referee was blowing the whistle there for something I'm not entirely clear what it was.
I think he was caught in two minds whether to go for goal himself or to look for Martin Boyle, and as he's looked up to Martin Boyle's position, he's almost kicked the ball with his other foot. A real let-off for Aston Villa, and it's the one time in the night Ellie Ewan looked like he's getting in.
It's actually been given as an offside. I wonder if it was that against Ewan earlier in that move away up almost at the halfway line, but
it looked close.
That looks what it was pulled back for, as Duran is almost released. He was fouling Bashiri there though, and it will be a free kick to Hibernian inside their own penalty area. Duran just been a little bit overly physical there, and his own frustrations at not being able to get on the score sheet taken out there on the Hibs defender, but the referee just calming things down. It will be a free kick to be taken by David Marshall. We've got 7 minutes of the 90 remaining. 5-0 Aston Villa lead. 3 goals in the first half, a double from Ollie Watkins and one from Bailey, and in the second half Watkins completing the hat-trick before a Douglas Luiz penalty after Traore was fouled in the box by Stevenson. And Hibs will hope that is where the damage ends, with 6.5 to play. It's a thankless task going down to Villa Park next Thursday, where it could get even more demoralising as Villa come forward down the right hand side. How difficult, regardless of, everyone knows that it's a class above you're playing, but how difficult to come back from such a heavy defeat to kind of go into the next game with your spirits still high, with your self-belief intact.
Yeah, it's difficult. Also, the opposition you're playing on Saturday, Livingston, are going to make it very difficult here. There'll be a totally different atmosphere in the game. They'll fancy their chances of coming here, but Hibs need to find a way, because they're sitting in no points at the minute. Saturday becomes really important.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 to go here, and Hibs will hope not too much in the way of added on time, although the officials are being told to be more strict in terms of adding time on for goal celebrations, for time wasting. Not that there's been a lot of time wasting tonight, has to be said, and indeed for substitutions, of which there have been quite a number. Here's Ewan looking to find Stevenson, didn't do him any favours with the pass, and Villa picked up after Stevenson slid in, but Hibs get it back on the edge of their own penalty area. Bushiri, and in fairness to, you say, the vast majority of the Hibs fans who stuck by their side, they're a good voice still, and they appreciate, I guess, the effort that has gone in to try and even just limit Aston Villa to the 5 goals, because it could even have been worse.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that appreciation. They have worked hard. They haven't worked hard enough to get in possession of the ball for me, but they've worked hard without the ball.
Is there anything they could have done tactically, you think, from the off to...
Yeah, for me 100%. They should have been building from the back. They shouldn't have been giving the ball away so cheaply. They needed to make Aston Villa work to get possession of the ball instead of just playing it long. As I said, play it long when you've got Doidge in the pitch, but you don't have Doidge in the pitch. Ali Johan, I think they got that wrong. Johan's a wide player. He's certainly not a central player back to goal.
Stevenson fouling.
It's difficult because there's clubs in our league that are set up defensively strong would be able to sit deep in their half and invite crosses into the box. Hibs' strength's all in the attacking areas, so it's really hard for Lee Johnson to go out and say, right, we'll play 10 behind the ball, because it isn't their strength. They had to have a go. They just maybe needed a wee bit more braver in possession, as John said.
He's back with Robin Olsen, 66 Sweden caps, but doesn't feature very often for Villa. His last appearance before this one was April against Brentford, one of only 6 last season. Afforded 45 minutes here tonight, and looks like he'll get away with a clean sheet as well. It's good play from Newell to get away from Tielemans in the middle of the park, but there's an infringement there in the centre circle as Hibs are about to make, I think, what will be their final change, Brian, tonight.
Yeah, Joe Lewis, he's run his socks off tonight again, but his night is over, possibly with a thought of the Livingston game coming up this weekend. The man coming on to replace him, Alan Del Ferrier, who last season was on loan at League One Edinburgh City. Tonight he's playing against Premier League's Aston Villa.
Tremendous reception from the Hibs supporters. Appreciation of Joe Newell. He gives you everything. He's the one player in the middle of the park that's got a bit of quality. He wants to get on the ball. He's worked hard off the ball tonight. He'll be a tired man tomorrow.
Not quite as good a reception from the travelling support for the boyhood Blues fan.
Yeah, I think a few of the Villa fans have picked up on that, haven't they? And giving him the message as he goes off. 2.5 to play. Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 5. Hibs coming down the left flank. It's Stevenson, gets it from Ewan. That's not a bad ball in. It's Del Ferrier in there. Can he squeeze it through for Boyle? No, is the answer, as Torres snuffs Hibs out. And again, Villa will come forward and continue to look to inflict further damage on Hibernian. It's Cash on the right hand side. Gets it back from Tielemans, who asks for it again. Doyle Hayes goes to close him down. He was released by Villa before joining St Mirren. Here's Pau Torres at the edge of his own penalty. He plays it out to the left hand side to the superb Luca Digne. 1-2 played on that left hand side, but with John McGinn. Good challenge, in fairness, by Lewis Miller to knock it out of play. Digne felt that, so it'll be a throw-in, simply, I think, to Villa. It's a fair challenge from Miller, albeit a robust one. Digne's fine, back on his feet, takes the throw-in. 90 seconds of the 90 minutes remaining, plus whatever we're going to get added on. Villa have it in the middle of the park, given away though by Diego Carlos to Eli Ewan. What can he make of this opportunity? Not much is the answer, as Tielemans sticks a boot in. Doyle Hayes though picks up and finds Miller. Now Del Ferrier, who's gone into that central midfield role, can also play at right full back, but in the middle of the park tonight as Diego feeds it forward. Doige tries the little flick. He's going to come back to the striker on the left-hand side. Up against Cash. He's got Yuan outside of him. Just sold him slightly short. And he's offside again, Eli Yuan. God, that would frustrate the life out of you as a manager, would it not?
Yeah, but it's, as I said, I've said it numerous times, it's what they do. I think they'll be into double figures for fouls won from offsides. It's really disciplined. They work at it all the time, and it catches you out. You have to be constantly watching it as an attacking player.
It's back with Olsen in the Villa goal. We're inside the final minute. Just watching the fourth official with his board down there, about to flash up exactly how much injury time will be added on. Hibs have won it back again in an offensive area. It's out to Yuan, who can frustrate and delight in equal measure, it would appear. Inside he comes, evading 2 or 3 challenges, still has possession. He's gone all the way from left to right of the penalty area. Then he's caught in possession. It does come back though to Diego. Tries to clip it to the back post for Doige. Villa clear the lines, and it's given away by Fish for McGinn. He just dragged back there. He still gets the pass off, and forwards comes Duran from distance. He'll go for goal, but he's well off target, and it will remain into injury time. Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 5. Was that 3 minutes of added on time? Yeah. Into that already. That's mercifully short, I would say, for Hibs, as a yellow card flashed in the direction of Martin Boyle, who's just lost all patience at last this evening.
Frustration.
Yeah.
It's been a difficult night for him, not a lot of possession, nothing's come off for him.
Free kick to Aston Villa with 1 minute of the 3 added on already played. And I think Hibs can probably be thankful that Villa, to some extent, have taken the foot off the gas in this second half, knowing that the game is well and truly won, and conserving some energy for their game at the weekend against Burnley.
I think in some sense, I think they're still probing, and Hibs boys are still having to work so hard. Even this one again, Lucas Digny's always unavailable. They're always threatening. So, to be fair to them, they have stuck at it, the Hibs boys.
Villa in possession, just inside the Hibs half. Back with Tielemans now. Douglas Luiz got that 5th goal. Looks like being the final one, unless there's a late strike here, as Traore, who's looked really impressive coming in off the right hand side since coming on, looks lively. Here's Cash up inside the penalty area, right hand side, tries to hammer it across goal, but Stevenson stuck the left boot in. Yuan picks up. The fans beginning to get on his back for what they feel perhaps is a bit of lack of awareness almost from Yuan at times, but he managed to keep possession on that occasion, as Diego Carlos takes the ball out of the sky and knocks it back to his goalkeeper inside the final minute of added on time.
I mean, early on he frustrates the supporters, because sometimes you look at him and you think, are you switched on? It's like he's in another little world sometimes when you watch him.
You get the sense he's trying to prove to everyone that he's a good player.
He takes too many touches, touch, rather than just use his pace, knock it past somebody, keep it simple. He's at his best when he does the simple things.
Aston Villa want him to be taking touch. Aston Villa don't want him to be making runs and running with the ball.
Foul there by Bashiri on former hero of these parts, John McGinn, and that'll be more or less the last action after this Villa free kick is taken. It has unfortunately been as one-sided as many of us feared it might be, with the English Premier League side just too good for Hibernian, as the Spanish referee sounds a final whistle. And to their credit, most of the Hibs fans who have stayed rise to their feet to applaud their team, but I guess also there's a bit of appreciation for a very, very good Aston Villa side, who are certainly applauded off by the 1,000 or so fans who made the trip up from the Midlands and who have seen their side rip Hibs apart. 3 goals in the first half. As soon as they got on the score sheet, they never looked back. Luca Digne, the architect of 3 goals tonight for Villa. He provided the first for Ollie Watkins, a glancing header to take it past David Marshall. That was in 17 minutes. And it was 2 when Watkins squeezed in a header at the back post from Douglas Luiz's corner that had been flicked on by Diego Carlos, and then Digne again, the provider for Leon Bailey just before the interval to make it 3-0, the header from close range again at the back post. Into the second period, Digne picked out Watkins. It was flagged offside as Watkins flashed it in for the hat-trick, but it went to VAR, and VAR decided with the use of the technology that it was onside, the goal stood, and Watkins had his hat-trick. And then the misery of Hibernian was completed when Traore, on as a substitute, completely outfoxed Lewis Stevenson, was swiped to the ground by the veteran fullback, and up stepped Douglas Luiz, the Brazilian, from the penalty spot, sent David Marshall the wrong way to complete the scoring. It was a real lesson in football from Hibernian, who knew they were up against it, and boy did it turn out that way. It's finished at Easter Road in the first leg of the Europa Conference League playoff, with the second to come a week from now at Villa Park. Hibernian 0, Aston Villa 5.
After the euphoria of last week, as Hibs and Hearts made it through against decent opposition, a sobering evening in Leith at Easter Road, as John McGinn and his Aston Villa team do a lap of honour and applaud the fans, and credit to the Hibs fans who've stayed right to the end here. They applaud back. It was, in the end, a masterclass from Aston Villa against Hibs, and it ends 5-0. It could have been worse, you feel. Maybe Villa took their foot off the pedal a little bit. Hibs couldn't get close, is the truth of the matter. Ollie Watkins with a hat-trick, Leon Bailey scoring as well, and Douglas Luiz with the penalty kick, sealing the victory on the night, sealing victory in this tie, barring some sort of ridiculous miracle at Villa Park next week, which is obviously not going to happen. As for the stats, apart from the scoreline, 30% possession for Hibs, 70% for Aston Villa. Obviously, 18 shots for Aston Villa, 5 for Hibs. 2 shots on target for Hibs, 7 on target for Aston Villa. We all suspected, we all knew that the chasm between the English Premier League and our Scottish Premiership is pretty big, and it has been shown this evening at Easter Road. We'll get the thoughts more from Stephen McGinn and John Collins as they have a little time to reflect in a moment or two. Should just mention that in the SWPL this evening, 3 matches ongoing. We're into the second half between Hearts and Rangers. It's 0-0. And also 0-0 between Dundee United and Hibs. That's just got underway, as has Montrose at home to Aberdeen, but Aberdeen already 1-0 in front. At 7:45, just about to kick off, Spartans at home to Celtic at Ainsley Park. Glasgow City, they're up against Motherwell at 8 o'clock at Petershill Park, and Hamilton Academical, another 8 o'clock kick-off. They take on Partick Thistle at the ZLX Stadium. So there we have it. Yes, a very chastening evening for Hibernian Football Club. Perhaps not unexpected. The scoreline, we all hoped for better, of course, but it hasn't turned out that way. Let's get the reflections now of Stephen McGinn and John Collins. And John, if I can come to you first, can you put this into context? How would you sum up the evening that unfolded in front of your eyes?
I think a big gulf in quality throughout the team. Aston Villa showed, I think, from kick-off, the passing, movement, composure, speed of thought and speed over the ground. Once they got the first goal, I think the confidence grew in Aston Villa and the confidence drained from Hibs. You play against these teams, once they get a goal in front, they keep possession so well, they stretch you, they use the full width of the park, and then they play passes through you. Good delivery into the box, clinical finishing, good delivery from set pieces, good movement in the box. 5, it could have been a lot more. Hibs, plenty of effort, endeavour. Really disappointed that they never tried to build from the back. They went too long, for my opinion. That was the start of the game. Set the tone, giving the ball away too easily. Give the ball away to good players. You don't see it for a fair while, and they make you chase it. So a lesson for the Hibs players, but also an education for the Hibs supporters watching. All credit to them. They've clapped Aston Villa, they've clapped the Hibs players off for their effort, but that's the way you play football, on the grass. Lots of good movement, sharp players, hungry players, top coach. I enjoyed it. I never enjoyed it from Hibs' point of view, but I enjoyed watching Aston Villa from the way they set about playing. I thought they were very professional, disciplined. They never tried to showboat or anything like that. Sometimes kind of happens when teams go 3-4 up, they start showing off, but they were very efficient. Hibs back to the drawing board and rest up. Big game at the weekend against Livingston, and then a trip down to Birmingham for the second leg, which will be a real test physically.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that trip down to Birmingham is something that most people associated with Hibs could now do without. Aston Villa carrying on from where they left off on Sunday with that hugely impressive 4-0 victory against Everton. Stephen McGinn, hindsight is a wonderful thing, especially in football. But from Lee Johnson's point of view, could there have been anything different he could have done to prevent this kind of scoreline?
Well, just in hindsight, he put another fullback on the left-hand side. They played a beater in front of Lewis Stevenson. Actually, in hindsight, if you're looking at it, maybe he should have played off the right-hand side, because Lucas Digne was the star man tonight. He was the main man for Aston Villa. He was the biggest outball. He was the biggest threat. So just on hindsight, but this wasn't about Hibs losing tonight. This was a real difficult tie for Hibs. Luzerne was the one to get through to earn the right to Villa, and it's important that the players, because it's hard at this level, this football club, they have to go out in a must-win game on Saturday. There'll be an expectation for them to win Saturday, but it's important they don't write off next week. Enjoy playing in that stadium next week, because it's a brilliant stadium against brilliant players. The fans going down, enjoy your trip, because this was all the hard work at Luzerne to earn these games. Don't write it off just because Villa were punishing on the night tonight.
Fair enough, absolutely, Stephen. Interesting points. Let's get some of the views from some of the fans who were contributing to the BBC Sport website this evening. Kevin said, "I don't think we've played too badly, Hibs, but we simply can't defend." Scott saying, "Have the Hibs team been told not to close Lucas Digne down, believing that they could handle the crosses coming in, or are they just that slow to close him down?" And Neil says, "What do people expect? Aston Villa are from another planet. We can't compete with the top side in Europe, nor can any other Scottish team for that matter." The defending from a Hibs point of view tonight, John Collins, not only tonight, but going forward, how much of a concern is that?
Well, it is a concern. Too often balls were coming in the box, and it was Aston Villa's head that was getting on the end of it. You want to see your defenders winning the headers, clearing it, but I think it's a combination of maybe disappointing defending, but very good delivery from Aston Villa, especially from the left-hand side. It was top quality, and the movement. These are quality strikers. They're not standing still. They're moving in the box. They're difficult to pick up. Both at set pieces, I thought opposition's movement was excellent. So, all in all, disappointing night for Hibs, but playing against I'll say it again, a well-drilled football team. Team with great movement, lots of one-touch football in the middle of the pitch. Hibs players couldn't really get many tackles in because they were smart. They were playing in little triangles, and it was just one-touch so many times. The one-touch passes round the corners. When teams play one-touch, you can't get tackles in them. And that's the reality. But we've got to learn from it. Go and watch the game again, the Hibs players, and watch the movement of your opposition, the composure of the opposition, and that's why you go to training every day. You go and try and get better. So this is the standard you want to try and get to. A lot of quality in the wide areas, I thought. Players that could dribble, good pace, they looked a really fit team as well. But Hibs stuck at it. It could have been more, but they never gave up. They kept working, so that's why the fans stuck with them at the end of the game. They got a round of applause from the home fans. Not many players can say that. They've taken a 5-0 heavy defeat, and the fans are still there at the end of the game clapping them off.
Yeah, that's impressive to see from the fans, definitely. Some Aston Villa fans, also on the BBC Sport website, Robbie saying, was expecting more from a Hibs side with home advantage, but clinical from Villa. And Joe says only half time in the tie, but looks like we'll be a force in Europe this season. And Stephen McGinn, I guess tonight and perhaps next week can go one of two ways, and we saw what happened with Dundee United last season against AZ Alkmaar when they took a hiding and how that affected them. And on the one hand, as John is mentioning there, these Hibs players tonight, they can take a lot, presumably learn a lot from this experience against top English Premier League players, but also at the same time, it's got to be a drain to the confidence as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, the drain for the confidence will happen with the league form. If they're off the back of 2 wins in the league and you just say, right, we've been beaten by a much better team, than you can park it. But they go into Saturday, it's a must-win game already into Hibs' season, 3 league games in. But they've got to take the lessons from tonight, for just going down to Villa Park to stop it really hurting them. Don't go chasing them 1s and 2s, because that's what we're waiting on. Just getting out to Lucas Digne and being there and letting the ball get crossed in, he will hurt you. So when you're going down there next Thursday, go the extra yards, go the extra 1 or 2 yards and try and stop the crosses, because Hibs can go down and make it competitive. They showed at spells tonight that they can get in your face, you can work as a unit and make it difficult for Aston Villa. That's all they can do. But in terms of the confidence, yeah, there's no doubt the league form will have affected that. The loss tonight, it will have affected that. But they'll know, within themselves, they'll know that there's a huge gulf from them to the boys in the away dressing room. So I don't think it'll overly affect them. I think actually they'll take up and just applaud it and say how good were they, how slick were they, how smooth were they. Can we go down there and make it a bit more difficult for them?
John Collins, you've used the word gulf obviously as well, and I mean that's what it is, chasm, gulf, whatever you want to call it. We all know about it, it's not news. We know that the English Premier League has got more money than it knows what to do with. Okay, not as much money as Saudi Arabia, but it's doing okay. And Scottish football is a different story, obviously. And we love Scottish football, of course we do. And it gives us so much, but fans will be thinking tonight, this scoreline, Aston Villa 5, Hibs 0. And in terms of the context of where our big clubs are, because Hibs are a big club in our game, of course they are. Just what context would you put it in? Aston Villa playing a side like Hibs. If Hibs were in the English pyramid system, for example, are they a Championship side, a League One side, a League Two side?
Well, who knows? Maybe League One, I would say. The reality is, there's not one Hibs player who'd get anywhere near the Aston Villa squad. Probably bench. That's the reality, and that's the task facing Lee Johnson tonight. They've got better players in every position. They've got sharper players, technically better players, more clinical strikers, better defenders. So they're better all over the pitch. So that's a challenge. And I think the reality is you've got to get the first goal, or you've got to try and stay in the game longer. But when a team like Aston Villa come here, as soon as that first goal goes in, I think you just see them all of a sudden, they become sharper, looser, even better movement, and it's very difficult for the Hibs players. As I say, they gave everything. The only thing they never gave me was they never built from the back or tried to build from the back early and get possession. So sometimes you get possession at the back to have a rest, to let your strikers further up the pitch to have a rest.
Yeah.
They're running and chasing their back four, and then your goalkeeper's kicking it straight back up the pitch. You need to let your strikers have a rest, and that's what building from the back, a lot of people don't understand. You build at the back sometimes for a reason, so the players at the top of the pitch can get a rest, and Hibs players never got a rest. They kept playing it up the pitch, as I said earlier, to Johan, who's no good in the air, and he's no great with his back to goal. If they had Doige up there, I could see the point. For me, that was the only critique I can really say of the manager. Why were you playing it up the pitch so often from the goalkeeper? I would have liked to have seen him being a little bit braver and try and build from the back, but it's not easy. That's what I would have liked, and that's what I've tried, but it's difficult. You're up against good players, sharp players who are trying to set traps for you at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, I've just seen your brother on the sports scene coverage join Stephen Thompson for a natter. We might hear a little bit of that in a little while. I must say, John's shown incredible forgiveness to Stephen Thompson, who almost, of course, ended his career with that corner flag all those years ago. He's done well despite that.
Yeah, John's a forgiving boy, quite the incident. So, but just in the context, I mean, Aston Villa did that to Everton at the weekend. A team full of experienced Premier League players. I mean, this is an Aston Villa team that finished above Tottenham, finished above Chelsea, spending the 500 million last year. This is a serious outfit. I know I'm probably biased with my brother being the team, but I think this is a team and a manager that could win this whole competition. So in the context of it, this wasn't another Malmo night where Hibs lose 7-0 and we look at the whole state of the game. The financial gulf from us to England isn't even comparable, but it's just a total different planet. So in the context, Aston Villa can do that to real good Premier League teams, do it to real good experienced Premier League teams like Everton at the weekend. So it's almost impossible to compare our game to the English game.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. So in terms of, John, suggesting League One in the English Football League, what about you, Stephen, where Hibs might lie in all that pyramid?
I never quite made it to the English Premier League, but I played in the other 3 divisions, and it's difficult. These Hibs and Hearts could easily compete in the English Championship. I know the money's going up again and again, but there's players in that Hibs team that have been good Championship players, guys like Joe Newell. So Martin Boyle's a top player at international level for Australia. So I always when it was a favourite of the English when you're down there, when I was playing down there, about where would you finish and but the financial gulf from the top clubs down there to our clubs is really hard, and I think we do well to compete, and results like the result we had in Switzerland, the result Hearts had against Rosenborg, can only stand us in good stead for going forward.
You mentioned the Malmo word, and yes, we should just stay with that for a second. It was 10 years ago that Malmo came to Easter Road, and they were already 2-0 up from the home leg, Malmo, and they beat Hibs 7-0 that night at Easter Road. It could have been worse as well. And I'm sure Lewis Stevenson and Paul Hanlon are pretty much just about over the nightmares of that night. But unfortunately, tonight was tough, not as bad. And yes.
For this Hibs team now, the most important thing, the massive game is the weekend. Livingston, they've got to quickly refocus. They'll dust themselves down, and they've got to get back to winning ways in the league. And they're more than capable of picking up the 3 points against Livingston. But Livingston, they're never an easy team to play against. They're usually well organised.
Yeah.
But they're a million miles away from Aston Villa, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Hibs need to get moving in terms of the Premiership season. We've been speaking about John McGinn all night. As I mentioned, he joined Stephen Thompson on Sports Scene a short time ago. Let's hear from him.
Well, back at Easter Road, did you enjoy the occasion?
Oh, it's the most nervous I've been for a game in a long time.
Really?
I had butterflies today, speaking to Alan earlier. Strange, really strange being in the away dressing room. Obviously we were in it with St Mirren, but I had a special 3 years here. And strange to be back, but a good result for us in the end.
You did have such a special time here, and I've heard you speak really fondly about the club. What was it about Hibernian that made you enjoy your time here so much?
Well, it suited me and it suited them. I was at a bit of crossroads in my career. They gave me a platform to go and show what I could do. The supporters took to me very early, but not only that, the club appreciated that I wanted to kind of step forward and try and move up the levels, and they respected that. I picked the right moment for them and picked the right moment for myself, and it just went smoothly.
Out with the first probably 15 minutes where they maybe caused you 1 or 2 problems, it looked to us like you had plenty in the tank, you had another couple of gears. If need be, you could have went up.
Second half probably. I told the boys, I said don't disrespect Hibs because you'll be surprised, and I think the first 10-15 minutes doesn't matter. You can tell the boys till they're blue in the face. They'll be surprised, and we were surprised first 10-15. It was an important game for Hibs, so I'd rather be treated like an opponent. I didn't want that kind of feeling, but I got a nice reception at the end. But like Alan said, we did have probably another couple of gears, probably the last 10-15 minutes, but the important thing for us was the win in the clean sheet.
John, I mean, look, obviously the tie's effectively over, and as much as you don't want to disrespect Hibs, I'm sure the aspirations for Aston Villa, and Alan's been touching on this as well, is that you've got a manager with European experience. Do you guys privately look at this competition as one that you can go on and challenge for?
I don't think there's any secret. He's very passionate about European competitions, got a great record.
Has it been spoken about?
Yeah, I think it would be stupid to try and get away from it. I think we're up there with one of the 2 or 3 favourites, but he'll treat every single game the same. We'll go to places that are really, really tough to play, and it's not going to be easy. It doesn't matter that we're probably got the highest budget or one of the highest budgets in the competition. You need to respect every team, and that's what we'll do. In fairness to him, tonight, really strong team, and we did respect Hibs, and we probably, after the first 10-15 minutes, showed our class and deserved it.
I remember you telling me about just what you thought of Unai Emery as a coach, as a manager. What is it that sets him apart for you from what you've had previously as a manager?
It's his tactics. You see it, I think a lot of the game I was kind of standing still.
It's not like you.
No, but just so much detail. You see the defenders waiting on the striker, pressing. sort of the Spanish way. I think when we were growing up, you take more than 2 touches at Figueroa Park and you get the shins taken off you. But he wasn't happy the first half. He thought we could have been a lot calmer on the ball, and we kind of get sucked into the atmosphere a wee bit. But he's a mental tactician and does a lot of detail.
Fantastic insight there from the Aston Villa captain John McGinn, chatting to Stephen Thompson, Alan Hutton and Michael Stewart. Mentioned a lot there. Unai Emery, the Aston Villa manager. What a record he's got in European competition. 4 Europa League titles. Made it to the semi-finals of the Champions League with Sevilla tonight. 5-0 winners against Hibs. Unai Emery's been speaking to Brian McLaughlin.
Unai, many congratulations. What a performance by your team tonight. Was that what you expected when you came here?
Good evening. Of course, first is respect for this competition, for Conference League. Secondly, respect for Hibernian, and then try to be competitive and try to impose our game plan. And of course, we know today we really played at a high level, and we didn't let them to play in their usually idea to play, and at the end the result maybe is a little bit different. 5 goals is not like we deserve it in 90 minutes, but we deserve it to win, and really our respect of them is playing like we play today. And this is the first leg. We are going to play this in the same night as the second leg, and we are going to respect them always.
The finishing tonight from your team was clinical, and it's obviously something you work on. How important is this competition for yourself tonight?
Yes, at the beginning we know they are very good team in the transition, and they have very good long ball. They have very good crosses and adding players in our box trying to score. And we played a little bit trying to hold the line. We did a lot of side for them, and in the moment we were with the ball, we tried to do long ball possession, try to keep our control with the ball, and then when we could attack against them, try to score and try to do the difference in the result, and we did it. And really I am happy, but everything we did today was with respect and trying as well to play, because in this competition, first we have to be in the groups, and second we have to be as well trying to do something here.
Correct. Congratulations tonight. A terrific performance from your team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Unai Emery there with Brian McLaughlin. John Collins, as a manager, just how impressive a figure is he?
He's top quality. I've always enjoyed watching his teams. Going back to John McGinn, what I'm seeing now is a John McGinn with more intelligence. In the past, maybe he'd receive the ball with somebody up his backside, he'd roll them using his power and his strength. Now you're seeing a John McGinn that's picking the ball up in between opponent players, and that's another level. That's what I call scanning. He's been looking over his shoulder. 2 players, I'll move in between the 2 players. All of a sudden the ball comes, he's taking it on the back foot. I don't think he bumped into anybody tonight. He received it in great positions, fed the winger so many times, good weighted passes in front of him. He's a different player. He's still got that appetite to run and chase and fight, but now he's picking the ball up in better areas in between opponents.
How much, Stephen, have you watched your brother evolve as a player, would you say, over the last 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. I mean, it's been, well, it's your brother, it's 20 years. You watch
of course.
Right through, and yeah, he's had challenges, but John's always managed to find another level. And as I said last year, there was real questions from everyone at Villa about whether he was the right man to be the captain, what had happened to his form, what had happened to his game. Unai Emery came in, just hit the reset button, and he's made him better. And as John said, I don't know how many games I've ever came to watch John without his making contact. And I think the third goal, where he takes his first touch in a really dangerous area and just plays it right into Lucas Digne's path. That is John McGinn at the next level, where he just happens so quickly, puts it on a plate for Lucas Digne, who then puts it on a plate at the back post. So yeah, it's amazing. He's very lucky in terms of the manager he's now working with. I think he is one of the best managers in the world, and I think Aston Villa are a serious threat down the road, not just in Europe. 28
years old, could he still go to another level?
I don't know. I mean, you never want to. You never know. I genuinely thought about 2 or 3 years ago under Dean Smith, he was playing the best football of his career. But now in the last year since Unai's came in, he's really playing at a totally new level. So why put a ceiling on it? Who knows? as I said, he's still a massive player for the country. So he plays a different way for Steve Clarke. But just watching him tonight, I said off air to John before we came on about John maybe inviting contact and wanting to show everyone how strong he is, but he didn't do that. He just went out, and the patterns of play they do, I think for anyone here tonight, if they watched Aston Villa against Burnley at the weekend, Man City in a few weeks, they do the same stuff. They try and tease the same teams out, someone to break out of the press and to pick them off, and Lucas Digne will find himself in the areas, maybe not quite as often as he did tonight, but he'll find himself in those areas, and Watkins will be looking for the same type of delivery.
John Collins, just briefly, if you will, Stephen mentions the word ceiling. What's your own take? You know what it's like at the very top level. As John McGinn, has he still got a bit of potential to reach his ceiling?
Well, I believe you continue to get better technically until you retire. He's working with a manager that's, I think, trying to turn him into a mixture of a British, Scottish type player and a Spanish midfielder. And you watch the top midfielders in the top teams, they very rarely bump into anybody. They receive the ball in space all the time, and that's what I think the manager's asking him to do. Can you receive it in the pockets, in the space, rather than bumping into people and rolling people? And for me, that's making him a better player. He's picking the ball up in better areas, playing more telling passes to his teammates in front of him. And at the same time, as he plays a pass, he doesn't just stand and admire it. What I like about him is his weekend goal shows he gets in the box. He wants to try and score goals, and that's another thing he'll want to continue. He's done it brilliantly with Scotland, but something probably he'll want to do more in the Premier League is score more goals down there. If he adds more goals to his games with the passing and the receiving, why can't he go to another level?
Wonderful player. Let's hope we see him doing the business for Scotland in the not too distant future. Speaking of Scotland internationals, David Marshall pulled off a few heroics in his time. A tough night for him between the sticks for Hibs, but David Marshall has been speaking to Brian McLaughlin.
David, not the night you were looking for tonight, was it?
No, of course not. I think we never put Aston Villa under any pressure. We never gave the fans anything to get behind us with. I think they were very clinical, the first goal especially, and it took the wind out of sails. So disappointing performance, especially the first half, and obviously a disappointing result.
Do Hibs look at themselves, or were Aston Villa rather on just a different level tonight?
No, of course you always look at yourselves. I think in terms of the performance, we know we were miles off it. As I say, especially that first half. Listen, there's an understanding that Aston Villa are a better team than us. Let's not get that wrong. But we can be a lot better, and we have to be.
In terms of going to Birmingham next week, is it all about trying to salvage a little bit of pride?
Of course, yeah. We've got a massive game on Saturday now, though. We've started poorly in the league. Subconsciously, I think with the European stuff, it can play in your mind, and as players, you don't want that. So we really need to focus fully for Saturday against Livingston, and then, as you say, restore that pride that the fans deserve next week in Birmingham.
Thanks for your time, David.
Cheers, thank you.
You can hear just how downcast David Marshall is, and no wonder, tough night for everyone involved with Hibs. But he mentioned it as well, John. It's just so important that Hibs get going properly now in terms of the Premiership. Anything less than a top half season for Hibs, it really would be unacceptable.
Well, that's always a target. I think third is where they're fighting. We should be fighting with Hearts and Aberdeen for that third place, minimum top half of the league. But make no mistake, it's difficult at this time of the season for the teams playing in Europe, especially games like this when physically you're getting stretched. So there's going to be a lot of tired legs, and that's the advantage to your Livingstons now and your St Mirrens who they played a few weeks ago, or the Motherwells. They've got 3 weeks more time in the training round, fresher. Hibs will hopefully there's no knocks, no injuries, but they've got to get that recovery, because Livingston, the first thing they'll say, Hibs will be tired, let's keep it a high tempo, quick throw-ins, quick free kicks. So that's the challenge. Ideally, if you've got big squads, you rotate players, you rest players, but I don't think Hibs can do that.
The problem as well, Jonathan, the first 3 games on paper are 3 generous fixtures in terms of the European. They've not played any of the top 4 from last season. So Saturday is key. If they come out of that with no points, all of a sudden the fixtures will turn.
They will indeed, because just looking at it, obviously they have to play Aston Villa again next week after the Livingston match, and then hot on the heels of that will be a trip to Pittodrie on the Sunday to take on Aberdeen, then a trip to Rugby Park to play Kilmarnock. And as we've all seen this season, Aberdeen need to get properly going, but you'd imagine they will be a tough nut to crack for most sides. They performed well against Celtic, albeit going down 3-1 at home. And Kilmarnock, well, we all know just how good they've started the season, John Collins.
Yeah, they've had a fabulous start. Results, performances, looking good. So it's tough. 2 tough fixtures after this weekend. Aberdeen away is always a difficult place to go. Kilmarnock, and then obviously they'll have Hearts, Celtic and Rangers to come in the coming months. But we've got to stay calm. Hibs fans, stay calm, relaxed. It's not easy tonight's result, but fingers crossed from the Hibs point of view. A good performance and 3 points, and we won't be talking about worrying about league form. If they could pick up 3 points at the weekend, they'll look forward to Aston Villa and a nice trip to Aberdeen.
Yes, a difficult end to October for Hibernian by looks of things. They take on Rangers on Saturday the 21st of October, and then a week later they're at home to Celtic. So anyway, lots of football to be played before then. Stephen, how do Hibs approach the second leg? What do they hope to get from it? Is it a case of just putting out the same 11? Will they give other players a chance? And I suppose it's also interesting to speculate as to how Aston Villa will approach it. Presumably they'll rotate the squad, no doubt. Well,
from an Aston Villa point of view, I'm not expecting 11 changes. I don't think they've got that type of manager. I didn't think they're going to go through this European campaign making wholesale changes for the Thursday nights. I think he takes it really seriously, as John said. From a Hibs point of view, the tie's gone. Go down there and try and get a bit of pride about you. As I say, keep the aggregate score down. Go and enjoy playing at a brilliant stadium, because it's a brilliant stadium. It's going to be against the same top players again. Go and try and be more harder to score against. And tonight, I think the timing of the first goal was a disaster. They didn't necessarily need to get the first goal, Hibs, to keep the crowd on side, but the first goal coming so early, it really put Aston Villa into their stride and quieting down the crowd. As John said in his interview, they did for the first 10-15 minutes. They misplaced more passes than they usually do, so they'll take a big support down there. There'll be a noisy away end down there, so just try and get a bit of spirit about you and enjoy the night.
I mean, Burnley Aberdeen sort of springs to mind, John Collins. That was back in 2018. I don't know if you remember it as well yourself, but it ended up the away leg in Burnley 3-1 on the night. Lewis Ferguson scoring for Aberdeen that night, and it went into extra time. It was obviously much closer just generally, but that was against top flight opposition. But Aston Villa, it does feel like a very different animal, and the amount of money that they've spent on the sheer quality that they've got in their ranks. Burnley, one of those sides that kind of yo-yo between the Championship and the English Premier League. Aston Villa are just a slicker outfit altogether, you have to say.
Well, they're a good football team, Aston Villa, all over the pitch. They impressed me this evening. Back four come to one possession, midfield, lots of triangles, 1 and 2 touch, pace and movement at the top of the pitch, clinical. Hibs going down to Villa Park. They've got to go down there and stay compact. They've got to have players that want the ball. You've got to try and keep possession of the ball, don't give it away so cheaply. Throw-ins, you've got to learn, watch this game, see how many times in the first half they had throw-ins, threw it straight to the opposition. These are basics that you've got to get better at. Retaining possession from a throw-in should be simple, straightforward. For me, I cannot understand throw-ins up the line, giving the ball away. I don't understand goalkeeper launching up the pitch, giving it away. These are little things, but they're actually massive things. Football's about possession. It's about making the opposition work hard to get the ball off you. It's hard enough when you lose possession when you're trying to play, but just giving it back to them easily. I think that's one thing. Lee Johnson, when he looks at this game again, he'll think, wow, we never worked hard enough at the back to keep possession. We never made angles. The goalkeeper constantly launched it. So lessons to be learned from Hibs, and they've got to go down there, and I think they've got to be braver in trying to pass the ball. It's all very well working when the opposition's got the ball, killing spaces, but it's working to get yourself in a position for your teammate to receive you. That's an important part of football. That work ethic, moving, making angles to the right, to the left. So the man in possession's got 3 or 4 players round about and they can pass it to. Tonight, too often Hibs, they never had that. But they're up against, as I say, I'll say it again, they're up against a team that are quality all over the pitch.
Absolutely, and at times the football from Aston Villa, from a neutral point of view, was a joy to watch. watching endless replays coming into the studio here of every angle of every Aston Villa goal, and cutting away to Lee Johnson at times looking anguished in the Hibernian dugout. We will stay on air until we hear from the Hibs manager this evening. Let me just point you in the direction of our offering tomorrow night, and it is more European action, and we hope for better, as Häcken take on Aberdeen. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night, the Swedish champions. Interestingly, out in the Champions League qualifiers, got dumped out by a Faroese side, but they came back strongly to beat Žalgiris Vilnius to set up for this match with Aberdeen. That's a 6 o'clock kickoff. Sports Sound will be on air from 5:45, and then after that, of course, it's Hearts versus PAOK. But the Hibs manager Lee Johnson has hoved into view. He's joined Brian.
Yeah, Lee, not the way you wanted to celebrate your 500th game in management. Your thoughts on that performance tonight?
Well, I think first of all, I was proud of the football club and the team for getting to this point, this stage of the competition against a top side, probably the favourites for the competition. I was disappointed, obviously, with the scoreline. I felt that the shape was okay in the first half, but in terms of moments in our control, we weren't good enough. I think if you look at the sort of first 3 goals, there was areas there where we could actually defend that. And in terms of defensive protocol, we've given them too much space, or obviously the corner should have been dealt with much better. And then, the golfing quality showed in that period after the first 20 minutes. And for me, it was just a case of quality on the ball, having the confidence and the belief in yourself at this level to be able to play. And we didn't, it was too many times that we gave the ball away. It was too many times we was offside, as an example, and you just concede in possession against a very good side. So that was the lesson for us, and we hope that through this experience the players can understand that is what you require at the top level, and that concentration and the importance of keeping the ball, like I say, at these top levels make the difference.
Can it all be put down to quality, or was concentration at any point a factor tonight?
Well, I think that the boys were going into the game, obviously, with the right balance of fear based on their quality, but also wanting to do well and wanting to shut down. And look, there was moments in that first 15-20 minutes where we just gave the ball up too easily. And then what happens is it's the athleticism and the speed of thought that drains, that drained our team on the day. And that, it's difficult. I've been there myself as a player. I've obviously coached as well against Premier League teams down in England, and it is difficult. But you have to be stronger in the mind, in the body, and you have to be concentrated. Like I say, hopefully through this experience, our players would have expanded their sort of knowledge and their mind's eye to what it takes to be a top level player.
In terms of starting the game, you say you were quite happy with the formation. What was the game plan? How were you planning to stifle Villa?
Well, I think we had enough opportunities where we won the ball central in terms of, to force them to play forward straight passes, which we tidied up, but then didn't often keep the second or the third pass, which is absolutely key. I remember 2 or 3 opportunities where we're at half a pitch due to Aston Villa's high line. They try and suffocate you, and therefore you have to have more quality to be able to tidy the ball up, to play an upset through type pattern, to be able to get in behind. And we just didn't do it on too many occasions. We missed the opportunity to show our class and to show our quality on the ball, and I think that would have therefore left us to be able to get in. And really the first goal, there wasn't a lot in the game, really. They weren't doing a lot in terms of possession. They weren't cutting us open, for sure. They were spending a lot of time sort of standing on the ball with a numerical advantage due to the goalkeeper being part of their build, if you like. But at the same time, when the ball did come centrally, and we picked up a lot of straight passes, but again, that's the difference. You've got to have that fire in the belly and the ice in the head to be able to calm down. And there's huge differentiations between the budgets, and we're doing well to compete at this level. And today's a big lesson for us.
In terms of trying to impose yourselves on Villa in the second half, you actually started the second half better, but then they got the part and score. Did you sense that the shoulders were starting to drop at that point?
Well, at half time, we had to be honest with the players and say, look, we haven't turned up in possession in my eyes. Working hard, but it's working hard both to win the ball back and then to make big angles to be able to receive it. I didn't think we did that well enough. So the half-time message was, look, let's try and salvage a bit of pride and win the half. And I thought the boys stepped out in that first sort of 4 or 5 minutes with that mentality. We got into the final third 2 or 3 times and then conceded the goal. And that's what happens. You overcommit or you commit. You get one decision wrong. I think Lewis Miller gets caught not dropping early enough. And the speed and the quality, you just don't get back. And again, having experienced that as a player, every mistake often at this level is punished, and that's what's happened to us today on too many occasions.
I think even the most ardent of Hibernian fans would say that the tie has gone. What do you do next week down in Birmingham? Because Unai Emery's told me tonight he's going with the strongest side he has available once again.
Yeah, well, look, I try not to pick a team directly after a game, so we've got a really big game on Saturday. We need to get our league form going. So naturally there'll have to be changes in that, and we're looking for players to, like I say, use this experience and establish themselves as more dominant in the SPFL than we showed in the first 2 games.
Finally, Lee, I know it was 5-0 tonight. Is there any positive aspects at all tonight you can take from the game?
Well, I think for me the positive and the club as a whole, in terms of getting to this position, it's the first time the club's got into this position for a long time. It was our best European win in 25-30 years last week, just 7 days ago, and it's allowed us this brilliant tie tonight. Now, of course, I said we should have done more. We could have worked better in those moments that were in our control, but inevitably the golfing class has showed up, unfortunately for us, on too many occasions tonight.
Appreciate your time, Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, always a difficult interview for any manager coming off a heavy scoreline like that. Lee Johnson there speaking to Brian McLaughlin. John Collins, can't help thinking he echoed a lot of what you were talking about as well, and feeling that they could have done more, Hibs. His players could have done more. And echoing what David Marshall said as well, in terms of performance, we know we were miles off. We know they are a better team than us, but we can be better. And almost an element of frustration there from Lee Johnson.
Well, I think he's very honest. It's a difficult interview for him to do after the game. But the question I would have asked him is what was the instructions to your goalkeeper when he had the ball at his feet? What was the instructions for your back four to make angles to receive it and try and move up the pitch, building the play? Or was it just to play it long? From what I'm watching, it was push up to the halfway line, play it long. And as I've said tonight on numerous occasions, it didn't work because they never had the target man up front. Doige was sitting on the bench. And they had Johan, who for me is a winger. He's not great back to goal. He doesn't win flick-ons, headers. And when it's fed at him, too often it bounces off him 3-4 yards and the opposition defensive midfield nips it off him.
And even concentration, John, that moment when he got into the box in the second half and he was thinking about what he was going to do with the ball and he accidentally kicks it out of play.
He's a frustrating player. On his day, 1v1, space in behind the fullback, his pace can cause problems. But for me, I don't see him as a back-to-goal player. And I think that never worked for him tonight. He went wider in the second half, looked more of a threat. A couple of times he got 1v1. But again, the manager's going to watch it again. He'll watch it tomorrow. He'll learn. And again, I spoke again, throw-ins, we talk about giving away possession. I think throw-ins up the line for me at this level, playing against quality opposition, you're just giving the ball away. Got to get better. These are small details, but for me these are big things. These are things that are basics. You retain possession from a throw-in. Fullback's got it, your central defender goes deep, central midfielder's square to you, and it's one of those, throw it to the central midfielder, get it back, play. Go back to the centre half, back to the goalkeeper, switch it. These are easy things to do. They're not complicated things to do, in my opinion. But tonight, Hibs never did those simple things well.
Stephen, what was your assessment of Lee Johnson's stewardship? Probably the best word for this evening. And listening to him post-match, what would you agree with and what would you disagree with?
I agree with John in terms of what Hibs could have done better, but I think when you're cramming information into the players, the information going into the players would be about how Aston Villa played, how they play, the roles you're going to need to do, and then potentially if they give the ball away, what positions Boyle and Ewan are going to be in. But just that, in times when David Marshall's got it, with throw-ins, they've maybe not had the time to say, right, by the way, at times we're going to have to maybe put a foot in the ball, take a bit of steam out the game, maybe get a couple of touches in, get a breath back, and play short, easy passes along the back and kill a bit of time and get a rhythm back, because far too often, as he said, I agree with him, they were caught offside far too many times, which Villa are excellent at, but far too many times are offside, and then Villa would just go and play again, and they didn't have a real time to settle into the game after the first goal went in.
Were they overawed by the level of opposition tonight, some of the players, would you say, John?
I think that they're playing against a level of opponent they're not used to playing against, both technically and physically. They're sharp, they're quick, and they play a good brand of football, possession based. It's hard to get near them. They play so many one-touch passes. We say, oh, I want to see tackles, I want to see you closing them down. It's difficult to get tackles and then close players down that play one-touch football. But it's an education. You've got to, if Hibs players will watch this again, and you've got to watch it and try and learn. What are they doing better than us? Simple passes, better movement, not giving the ball away, not forcing it forward when it's not on to go forward. And these are details but these Hibs players, if they want to get better, you've got to watch these matches over again. Don't just say, oh, we got smashed, I'm not watching that game. Go and watch it. It's painful, but you learn from big defeats like that against good players. Positive for me, the Hibs supporters clapped the players off the pitch and also clapped the Aston Villa players. I thought that was a nice touch tonight for me.
Great stuff. Life is a learning curve, and tonight was a very tough lesson for Hibernian Football Club. Thanks very much to John Collins and Stephen McGinn for their insight this evening. Yes, the sun's setting tonight on Hibs' European adventure, you'd have to say, albeit the second leg is next week. We hope for better for Aberdeen and Hearts tomorrow night. But that is it for now from all of us on the Sports Sound team. Good night.